Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to the first ever season of the ERA Endurance. I'm super excited to be here. My name's Stephen Koenig, and joining me in the box is none other than the professional driver slash stig slash technician slash everything that comes to the point of going quick and going quick for a long period of time. Chris Wall joining me in the commentary box. Chris, absolutely wonderful to have you here. Bit odd not to see you out on the track, but seeing the debut season of the ERA Endurance, I'm sure you are just as lively as I am right now.
Thanks, Stephen. Yeah, we've been working towards this for a little while now. We've been wanting to get a proper endurance system kicked off and on the cards. And yeah, it's good to see a great attendance for this one. People from all over the world are joining in. But yeah, I think you overhyped me in your intro, but I'm grateful to be to be associated with nice positive things. But yeah, I'm excited for it. Nice easy 3 hours of Barcelona. Easy, right?
Well, that's it. It's just
Sarcasm.
It's only 3 hours to contend with. What more can go wrong? I mean, we spend an hour odd going and racing, but I'm reading my notes here, and the drivers have limited tire sets to deal with. Now, hold on. If I'm getting this correct here, which is hopefully getting it, they've got limited tire sets that they have to work with that will count for their race, and you got to make sure that you're not going to be locking up, burning out those tires, running into any sort of issues. At the same time, these are the same tires that you're going to be handing over to your teammates. What's going on here?
Yeah, so each team, just like in real life, really, so each team gets given 3 sets of nice new Pirelli rubber at the start of the race server, which is already live. There's 2 cars circulating on track at the minute, which we probably don't advise because they're using those tyres. How they use those tyres is completely up to them. Obviously, 3 tyre sets will easily get you through 3 hours, but like you correctly said, Stephen, if you lock up, which is easily done, especially during a 3-hour endurance race, if you lock a wheel, if you grain the tyres too early, you're going to just have to live with it. You can't go through endless tyre sets. Whether you hand those tyres over to your teammates or not is obviously a team and a strategy decision that they'll make between themselves. But it's just part of trying to bring a little bit of, I want to say, simulation, a little bit of real life struggle to the simulation that we're playing today.
Well, I can tell you, if you ate my last chocolate chip cookie, I'm definitely going to lock those brakes right before I come into the pits and hand over the car and ensure that you've got those fillings sorted out from the dentist from day one. But absolutely incredible to have it, and it's incredible to see our virtual grandstand ready to rock and roll. Some great contenders. We saw 39 teams sign up, and at the moment we got 28 teams that are going to be going around for the first ever round of the ERA Endurance. Gotta say, I love it, absolutely love it, because one thing that we've always spoken about in ERA, and Chris, you and I have had this back and forth the whole time, is teaching new skills to drivers, from just how you brake, how do you deal with a sprint race, how do you deal with driver etiquette, and now you're going to have a race of 3 hours where it's testing you to work with people or testing your endurance. And we do have drivers that have decided to do this solo, which is possible, but yeah, I wouldn't advise it.
I mean, I don't know about you, Stephen, but my bladder after 90 minutes is starting to cry a little bit. So these guys doing at least 3 hours. I mean, a lot of them are already in the car now. They'll probably dash out for a little last minute Kimi Räikkönen moment just before the green flag drops. But yeah, 3 hours as a solo, it's definitely doable. We've seen a lot of drivers do it before. It's not it's not beyond the realms of human endurance, but it's certainly going to be a challenge for them because, your focus will start to wane. It's not just the physical aspects of 3 hours of drain, it's the mental aspects as well. If you're in a battle for 3 hours, you're mentally tired.
And that's going to be the challenge that we're giving our drivers here today and our teams as well. Now, we did introduce a team championship in the ERA season, and unfortunately, a lot of drivers tend to forgot about it until it bit them in the backside right at the last. a whole endurance season with action-packed racing, which you can go and sign up on SimGrid. There's still opportunities for you to drag your mates in and be a part of the racing, because we got the 3 hour of Barcelona, which is our first round, happening here on the 22nd of March. On the 19th of April, we're going to the Circuit of America for 4 hours of COTA. Then we head over to the UK, and I'm going to go visit Chris at this point, for the 6 hours of Silverstone on the 17th of May. And we end off at the beautiful Red Bull Ring on June 14th. So head over to Evolution Racing Academy, out on SimGrid, and in the description as well. Go and sign up. Let's get as many of those teams trying out to see who can be the quickest, who can be the most consistent, and who can put everything that they learned all together. And that's where the trick is going to come in. We had a bit of a warm-up before heading into this ERA endurance, where a lot of drivers were giving in some incredible advice and what should be done, how to test it. And Chris, you were part of the main build-up to it, seeing guys jumping in and just wanting to be a part of this amazing action that started back in January 25th.
Exactly. And I mentioned to you just before we started the stream that I was especially glad to see a lot of our South African, well, you know, you're South African, so to me as a Brit, I race with a South African racing team, of course, and it's great to see a lot of familiar names joining up. Guys that I know but will be quite new to this championship, like Heineke, Dino. Obviously, Dino's here now. I think he's solo in this one. And a couple of the PWSR and Griffin Sim Racing teams as well. Hopefully we can expand that and get some different guys in from all over the globe. But yeah, it's great to see it grow. You know, the warm-up races were a lot of fun. They went really well. There were a few little niggles that we obviously have, you know, we've had to work at as far as getting this championship up and running. And the track choice for this is kind of different. We didn't want to just go with the usual Spa and all the usual stuff that you'll see in endurance championships. We've tried to go with sort of out there choices that you don't necessarily always see. And of course, gone for sort of more still raceable tracks. You know, you don't want to do a 4 hours of Alton Park or something like that. So that's why Silverstone's there. And these are definitely tracks that you can have really good fights on, but also are up to a certain grade that you will recognise from real life racing as well. So a lot of these guys will come in knowing these circuits, not necessarily knowing the drivers, but it's a good opportunity to share the track with new people, new teammates, and share those good experiences along the way as well, and just get to know different people. And hopefully some of these guys will come to racing on Sunday series, and you know, a couple of our guys might join other championships and stuff as well. So it's all about collaboration and just growing sim racing as a community as well.
Absolutely great stuff. A new team joining up this season is going to be the PWSR, which is fantastic to see. A very strong team here in South Africa that has proven themselves at the top of championships many times in the past. They've got the new signing of Dean to come be a part of it, Dean Okia. They've also recently brought in the likes of Jason Farmer as well to come and battle as a bit of a borrowed driver or part of the PWSR camp from the Griffin Sim Racing. So good to see that the Griffin Sim Racing team has also returned in quite a bit of force here to the circuit. But we've also got to talk about the amazing liveries that we've got, because you've got the old styles, you got the really, you know, great that you know about, and then we go to Ernest's car, where, my heavens,
I know what you're gonna say. Yeah,
I mean, that's where do we start with a car like this that has literally got Liam Nielsen everywhere over the car? He's got a particular set of skills. I don't think endurance driving was part of it.
Yeah, he will find you and he will race you. Is very much the order of the day for Liam Neeson today. Yeah, I love these endurance races, because you do really see people's creative streak definitely goes on a little bit of a tangent. You know, you will get your standard team liveries as well, like your Griffins and your PWSRs. I mean, they always bring nice, attractive cars, but this is why I like the solo drivers that will come in occasionally with really wacky out there liveries, and that's, you know, that 420 Nissan is definitely one of those that's that's certainly going to raise a smile every time it's seen on track, and that's what we like. We like to see that.
I've got to say, as soon as I saw it, before we went live, I had tears in my eyes just laughing, but it's incredible. And it's just to bring out, it's Liam's Neeson. You got to be careful about it. You know, it's one of those top cars. A couple of other cars out there. We got Nicholas Cora going and sporting the Everest Racing team. Got the Lenovo on the side, as we've seen many times before. The Los Pontos Hermanos coming in. They're ready for a fight. A very strong team that has been challenged in the Sunday Championships. Good to see that Milestone is going to be behind the wheel there. Ruben Heineke for the Griffin Sim Racing team, along with Pascal Rodel for the Reptile Racing as well. I've got to say, I love the Reptile Racing look. The snakes, in terms of the scales on it, absolutely incredible. But the blood, sweat, and tears that must have been in to make that livery can only be told by those who create liveries. That is incredible. We go further down. Interesting enough, the Track Tool team switching out from the Lamborghinis that they were using previously to a Ferrari 296, which, well, may work in their favor and may change the idea of what their cars are going to be. And we got David Schutten, as you can see, the Flying Dutchman written all over the car, McDonald's, KFC, Sandaggers. I mean, we've got all the fun stuff on the car, but the Flying Dutchman, you can't get it wrong. All the way from SpongeBob SquarePants, and are you ready, kids? Aye, aye, Captain. David is not going to be in the police car.
No, it's a bit of a shame to say, and he's been recruiting behind the scenes as well. By the way, I don't know if you know this, but for next season, he's making a police team, and they're all going to run different police liveries, I think, from around the world, and that'll be quite cool to see. A bit scary, if you've got history, but I like the creativity. But yeah, that Reptile Racing one's probably one of my favourites at the moment.
Well, we can't count out the driving school. I gotta say that's incredible. Driving school that Matthew East is in, and it's fantastic to hear that we're getting an entire precinct coming in to go race with us, and for a bit of Need for Speed feel. I mean, you've got your Porsches, your Ferraris, and you're gonna get chased down by Mustangs in a variety. It just brings back that old nostalgia that you used to go and play. But it's fantastic to see the different liveries coming in. It's fantastic to see the different drivers, the different teams, and also a mix of different drivers and teams. This is something that we did touch on. A lot of drivers just starting to work with one another behind the scenes, coming to be part of this race, and been rather welcoming of people that are a little bit astray, that are sitting alone. They're not part of a team as yet. Suddenly getting thrown in a car, being put together. And I've got to say, this is actually how my team came to fruition. The likes of Team Heap together, and that was actually, go back a little bit. Jan van der Venter is that very person. The Sim Stuff Racing it was actually the birth child of Team Heap together. It landed up not actually meant to race it was a 24-hour of Kailami, and we were going to race it, then it wasn't going to happen, and landed up with Janneman Price, myself, and Matthew Densham, and there was another chap, Philip, that was involved, and we landed up going and racing. So big thank you to Jan van der Venter of Some Stuff Racing. It's good to see him out here, going from console racing. He's done console ACC, console Project Cars with Sarko. Good to see him out there. Camille's son, also fantastic. Luke Nielsen going and having a bit of fun. But also, we got to talk about our fans in the grandstands. We've got quite a variety out there. We have got Alan Patterson, head of PWSR. He's going to be on the pit wall listening in and going and being a part of it. Rob van der Heever, who's also going to be out and taking a look. Ruben Heineke, LC Jabir. We've got the likes of Chris Heineke and the superfan that has followed religiously every single step of the way of the Griffin Sim Racing team for the past good couple of years, and it doesn't matter where around the world. We've got Antonio Gamble also being a part of it. This is just incredible, and I've got to say, I'm super excited and getting goosebumps.
They're just racking up their frequent flyer mileage, really, aren't they? They've obviously got some sort of deal going on with some of the airlines. But yeah, it's always nice to have people in the crowd supporting, watching, cheering their guys along, and of course, as a driver, that that matters. You care about that sort of stuff. Where you can sort of feel the energy as well when you've got people cheering you on and wishing you through. And especially for some of these drivers that are doing this solo, they need that energy and they need that. In football terms, we call it the 12th man, and they're going to need that today. And it's great to see them here, and we welcome them along to the sunny shores of Barcelona.
And that's it. In Barcelona, very tricky circuit, a high degrading circuit on your tires, so you got to keep that well in mind. It is a very warm track temperature of 30 degrees, so that's going to play a factor on what you're going to do. If you're going to double stint, if you're going to try and run a set of tires per session, what are you going to do? What's the game plan there? But it's absolutely fantastic. I mean, the last time we've come venturing out to Barcelona, it was a little bit damp in some places here in
just
ERA.
A bit, yeah.
Just a little bit damp. But absolutely fantastic to see all the cars lining up and taking up most of the pit boxes here and drivers getting in. We're up to 31 teams. Can you believe it? 31 teams going and lining up. We had 39 register. We're up to 31 on a race day, with possibly more just trying to get that last minute in. So this is going to be a wild, wild race.
Yeah, and we're just getting ourselves ready for the formation lap now. So the drivers and teams will be doing the last minute preparations. They've got the updated weather information now for the race. They know what the ambient temperature is going to be when they get out on circuit. So they can now start making final preparations to things like tyre pressures, ride height, and all that wonderful stuff as well, and making sure they've got the right people in the right seat at the right time. So yeah, 1.5 minutes till formation lap start, Stephen. I'll let you do you normally do a little bit of an intro track walk for this bit, don't you?
Well, it's going to be a great one. But we also got to talk about what we are currently seeing. Qualifying was done previously, and all teams have been set up in their qualifying positions, which was done earlier in the week. And Dean Nokia will be starting out that first place with David Schutten, locking horns with him. First time these two have ever touched soil against one another. They're going to be manning the front row, looking to go a bit wild for the race. I've got to say, super excited about this one, but also a little bit of nerves, a little bit of tension as drivers get themselves prepped and ready for this race. Chris, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit. If you're looking at all these teams, every single one out there, who do you think has the opportunity to win this? Now, we were talking about our solo drivers. We've got a couple of them now going to try and push the limits of what they can do. We've got a couple of team drivers. They're not going to wear each other down too quickly. I mean, this is going to be a wild one. If you had to take your pick, what will it be?
There's no denying Dean's pace. And David's pace for that matter as well. They're both in very powerful cars for this. But I've got to back Christoph and Darius in the 751 Nissan. You know, they're my guys. I'll back them to the hill, and I think they've got the chops to get this one delivered today. They'll have the work cut out because the cars ahead of them are piloted by exceptionally quick guys and are quick cars as well. But I've got faith that they can deliver on the day. There's some drivers out of position as well. You know, when you look at drivers like Jason Farmer and you've got Ernest Lindbergs and people that we're used to seeing fighting at the top end of the top split in ERA, and they're sort of mid-pack at the moment. So are they thinking of a weird and wonderful strategy call? You know, what's their target's going to be for the start of the race? You know, there's a lot that can move. There's a lot of moving parts in this race, and I don't think we'll see anything near the lineup like this at the end of the race.
Well, we're going to have 3 hours of solid commentating, bringing you all the action here for the ERA Endurance Round 1. 3 hours of Barcelona. Dean Nokia will be starting out the pack with David Schutten lining up in second place. Christoph Peterson running in third, the 5-time champion of ERA Diamond Division, looking to lead on the team in the Nissan GTR, along with Michael Castro, Camilleson, Nicholas Cora, along with Pascal Rodol, Miles Stone, Jason Farmer, Remy Cables, along with Lucas Collip, Ruben Heineke, Ernest Lundbergs going and running in 13th position. We got Jan Dulscher going to have a bit of fun out there. Chris Heineke, Matthew Alves, Cedric Muir, along with Gerald Pretorius, Base Reyes, along with Wayne Ferreira, John Spriggs, Nathan Warren, even Ivan Matov, Ulrich de Jager, Luke Nielsen, along with Felix Cormack, Matthew East, Brandon Harvey, Jan van der Venter, Mickey Taylor starting from pit lane, and Jonas Mre rounding out the pack. 31 cars set to rock and roll here tonight, and we are in for a wild treat. It is going to be the PWSR solo of Dean Norkier up against Christoph Peterson, who will look to try and dive around David Schutten. The two of them know each other all too well and what they are capable of, and also in a different set of cars to what they usually drive. I mean, Christoph was in a Merc, he was in a Honda, and now he's in a Nissan. David from a Ford Mustang to a BMW, vastly different. I mean, you've gone and taken away a couple of cylinders, plus you've now gone and put asthma pumps on the car.
Yeah, it'll be a different driving experience for sure, but this isn't Christoph's first rodeo in a Nissan. Darius drives this in the Sunday Series, or has done historically anyway, so those drivers do have experience with the Nissan, which does have, I'm not going to say particular driving style, but it does take some adapting, especially when you've been driving a car like the Honda. Yeah, they've got the ability to do it. Yeah, let's see what this one's got to offer.
Well, 3 hours to rock and roll, 3 hours for the first ever ERA endurance race. And I gotta say, this is gonna be exciting. Lights on, everyone getting ready, 70 kilometers an hour, nerves starting to settle in. But once we go green, we are racing. And David Schutten off to a phenomenal start. Dean Norkier getting sucked into the pack. Now as Christoph Peterson gets on by, Michael Castro will look to try and get his way through. But it is Dean down the order, all looking okay into turn 1. But so far, David Schutten getting the absolute launch of a lifetime on his way up through the order.
We've already got Milestone into the wall. Unfortunately, the Los Patas Hermanos car has come a cropper somewhere through turn number 3. I didn't see what happened, I just saw the aftermath.
Well, let's see if we can try and bring that replay of what happened. There is the Nissan of the Los Patas Hermanos, all looking fine, heading into turn 1. Oh, 3 wide is definitely not going to work out. Onto the marbles as well. Trying to keep it off the curb. A little bit of a nudge on the rear. Does drop down. Oh, and a second contact. Looks like it up against one of the BMWs, going and sending him into the wall. And that is definitely not the way that you want to start an endurance race. Pulling out the cable ties, the duct tape, and the locking wire to get you going. That looks like it might have been contact with the 42 of Jan. Yes, it is. Well, Jan Dulscher going and having a bit of a skid mark racing moment with that little bit of contact. He does move up into 19th position, so it doesn't look like the car is too badly hurt. But Mickey Taylor now out of the pits. Will have to chase down Miles, who is miles away. He's got the likes of young VDV in front of him, but this is going to be a tough race for the team.
There's time to recover it. The world's not over yet. They can definitely do something with this race still remaining. 2 hours 58 minutes to go. Leading up at the front, I don't know what's happened with Dean. He's dropped back a second now to the leading pair of David Schutten and Christoph Peterson. They're starting to just gap him a little bit now, and if Dean doesn't get back a hold of it, he might start falling into the clutches of Miguel Castro and Camille Hassan, who are battling for 4th respectively.
You've also got David Schutten and Christoph Peterson that are not treating this like an endurance race. They are going at each other like it is a sprint race, as David's trying to do everything he can to protect his position for the Flying Dutchman team, and Christoph Peterson trying to have a go at him. Dean Norkier managing to close up some time. Michael Castro getting his mirrors absolutely filled with Camille, who's looking left and right in that Garage 59 coloured Aston Martin. And immediately Michael's got to be very, very cautious on this one, because Pascal is not too far back. Jason Farmer, who's going to be watching on, seeing his own teammate now trying to get onto the attack. He wants to step up on the pace as well, as we immediately see Pascal closing up. The Ferraris definitely having the edge through the tight corners versus the likes of our front engine monsters. BMW and the Aston Martin that's just ahead of him.
Yeah, they've got plus 20 kilos of bop as well, which means they were predominantly quite a powerful force around the Barcelona circuit. While you were talking now, I was just watching a little bit of a battle in the background between Alves, Kolb and Chris Heineke. They all sort of came together in the middle of the circuit. Alves in the Porsche has come out victorious on that, but he has got Lucas Kolb chasing him down. But that early pace for the Porsche, it seems to really just switch its tyres on really quickly. And a lot of the other cars are struggling to get those tyres fired up in this initial couple of laps. But the Porsche, no problems. Really warm tyres, really quickly straight through the pack.
Baz getting overtaken. Oh, a little bit fouled up as he loses out 2 positions to likes of Jan and Wayne, but lands up with Gerard Pretorius, giving him a little bit of a nudge on the back, and that has brought Ivan into contention. John Springs, along with Janus Marais, fighting it out just behind Ivan, so he's going to have to keep an eye. The Wise Racing Endurance team now losing out a position to the likes of the Pathram Praja Enduro. But that being said, we got to talk about the big elephant in the room, the 10 seconds on our 16th place vehicle of likes of Jan Delsha, and this is purely because here at ERA we've got to switch it up, and as you heard at the beginning, we have brought it as close to real life as possible, including live stewarding by our exceptional stewarding staff that, man oh man, I would be sitting wanting to drive, but they are taking the biggest hit, and we can't thank them enough for putting in the work behind the scenes to give us that live stewarding. But at the same time, I'm sure there's a few teams that are going to be having a little bit of a grumble and a mutter as the times go through.
Yeah, there is an entire stewarding team behind the scenes. I've got access to what's going off in the background as well, so I can sort of see what the stewarding team are up to and how they are playing things. I haven't seen anything actually flash up about that 10-second penalty. What I will do is keep you updated. There is an investigation underway, but it hasn't been flagged as applied yet. But that is involving Milestone, so it may be that lap 1 incident that we covered.
A little bit of a nudge and a rock, but we did see Michael Castro keeping Camille at bay into turn 1. Pascal now leading into the fight. Jason Farmer showing his nose, wanting to have some intent to get on by. And I gotta say, as we start ticking on by and we start seeing the drivers really putting in this extremely amount of hard work and fighting it out, we're also seeing drivers starting to wear those tires down. More and more cars starting to slide a little bit more than I would say is ideal for these set of tires. But with the track temperature 30 degrees, it is going to land up with a big situation for every single one of the drivers, as we do see that Michael now starting to battle to get that BMW to slow down under braking and just going and clipping in the dirt. That's brought Camille immediately back into the fray, and like of Pascal and Jason Farmer in tow. Nicholas Cora, also great to see him out there. One driver not to go and say, oh, well, you're on the slower end here. It's a driver that's actually been fighting it out for the podiums on our Sunday runs, and it's been absolutely incredible to see him out there. Gerard Pretorius also stuck in for a fight as Janus Marais and Ivan Motov going and keeping a lot of pressure on the back of him. John Springs going and closing up as well. So we are starting to see a little bit of a drop off from some as they get into a bit of a rhythm. Others, well, we're in for a race and a half as Johan van der Venter has Mickey Taylor gaining a position. So remember, this Mustang did start in pit lane so far 9 seconds back from the pack, managed to gain 1 position thus far and still needs to keep it going, as Jan Velsa and Cedric Marais 15th and 16th fight it out. And there is a fight everywhere you look at the moment.
Yeah, early doors in endurance race is always an exciting one. How much do you want to battle for that position? Let me tell you, someone that's been making a lot of the early running is car number 37. He was 30th on the grid when we saw the green flag drop, and 8 minutes later he's up 10 positions and now up to 20th position. He is on an absolute charge. A couple of other winners. We've got car number 28, Alves in the Porsche. He's up 4. Lindbergh's is up 4 positions. Most other drivers where the started or 1 or 2 positions up, no other big early movers. But the biggest winner of this race so far is that number 37 Aston Martin. So definitely one to watch coming up to the back of another Aston Martin now.
Yannis Marais going and really chasing down Baz at the moment. Look here, go side by side, trying to show the nose on early to Gerard Pretorius. We do have a car stationary though, and that is the 971 of Mickey Taylor, who's landed up stranded in the middle of the track. Oh no, he's into the brick wall. That is definitely not the way the Mustang is meant to be eating rubber at that point.
Well, I've just flicked back on my replay, and it looked like, it looks like a loss of brakes basically going into turn 4. The car just didn't stop and found itself now buried into the tyre barriers on the exit of turn 4. So that seems like a technical issue. That was the car, of course, that started in the pit lane. I do wonder whether there was an issue that didn't get rectified, and that's what's come a cropper for him now. But it's still there, so we'll have to keep an eye on that.
Yellow flags will be popping up in some sectors for the drivers as they try and make their way through. Oh, contact. Lucas Collab and Chris Heineke going and having a blow to one another. Let's quickly go and take a look at the number 13 having a big run with the number 30 as Lucas in the Lamborghini, Chris Heineke in the big Bentley trying to chase him down, trying to close up, and it looks like got a bit caught out by one of the Griffin Sim Racing teams. Oh, and it was a double box just to really throw the Lambo out of shape into the marbles, and that's all she wrote. Unfortunately for our Lamborghini of Lucas Collab, he's able to get going, but down the order from where he wanted it to be. Yannis going and also making up a bit of time, had a little bit of contact with Baz by the looks of it. The 37 that we've been saying has been doing really well. Baz and him have been going door to door, the two Aston Martins going and making their way through, all looking okay at the moment. Was it a bit of a lunge? Looking all peaceful. Oh, never mind. A little bit too early on the throttle, and it landed up with a Constantina effect for the likes of John Spriggs, though. He went straight into the boot of that Aston Martin, and not going to be too happy with a bit of damage to his car. Ever so wise for John at the moment, but ever so angry, I think, for the mechanics.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be scrubbing your tyres this early on into a race. You'll put them through a heat cycle far too early. So what we just saw there with Lucas, he'll be fine to carry on. There'll be very little actual damage to the car, not much aero affected at all with that little contact, but the big damage is going to be in his tyres. They will have a heat spike in them, and that will cause some issues later on down the line. We're looking at the Spriggs Stone. Oh, and Mark Stone goes really deep on the brakes. I'm just watching in the background now, and these cars battling like absolute crazy as one of the Aston Martins loops it round. I think that was Rez. He's not having a great start to this race so far, but you can definitely recover if he just keeps the car going, which he does.
Unfortunately, getting caught out there and a little bit of contact. Ulrich Dialga, part of the Griffin Sim Racing team, out there in the McLaren. Bit of wild colours coming in for the Griffin Sim Racing team. Gotta say, they've been really upping the ante on their different colour variations across their cars, across all the different seasons, like a PWSR now with that very metallic silver, which is a breakaway from what they usually been going with the pink and the yellow that they usually play out with. This time, going with something a little bit more out there. Lucas Collab going with a Lambo Mechanics that is on the back of Wayne Ferreira in the Honda. The Player One Racing now getting chased down at this point. And we do know that the Honda has a little bit of a rough time with its heat cycles from what we've heard with the likes of Christoph and Paul Feinter all going and jumping and saying, look, you got to be very cautious about it. Another car that we got to talk about, Florian van Haas going and making some moves and shakes right behind Ernest Lundberg and really keeping that Nissan on the edge of its seat and just out of reach of Nicholas Cora, because every time he's trying to gain a bit of time, Florian's putting his nose in, letting him know, listen, I'm right here and I will take the position. I'm not going to be aggressive, but I'm going to sit in your mirrors and make life rather uncomfortable.
Yeah, there's still battles everywhere, Steve, and I'm just keeping an eye on the Jaeger Milestone and the now Nissan coming into the back of it as well. Sorry, the Mercedes coming into the back of it as well. These guys are all bunched up, but there's battles all over the place. Also looking at things like speed traps. One reason why we might see Dean struggling at the moment, he is, he's at 8 kilometres off Christoph in the speed trap. So the Nissan achieving 273 kilometres an hour at the speed trap. Dean only managing 265. So that's why he can close up in the corners. But as soon as that Godzilla beast hits the straights, it is off and gone. So Dean's going to have to get that move done in the twisties, which is going to be a risk to his tyres. So it's how he plays this one and how hard he pushes at this early stage in the race to try and get on top and equal terms with that Nissan.
That's what we're starting to see, and that's allowing David Schutten to start opening up that gap early on. So Dean is on the back of the Nissan, trying everything he can, staying within the slipstream, but having to keep a really cool head in this type of situation is one of the most difficult ones. Now, we've also got to talk about the time of day, because we started with 30 degrees, we started with the 2 o'clock, but we are starting to see the time of day affecting the track temperature, gone down by 1 degree. And what does this mean for the team that's sitting in the pits? Now, we always talk about the drivers, and we always talk about the crew chiefs that are involved in the sprint race, but as a team collectively, having to identify what they're going to do, because my driving style and Chris, your driving style are vastly different. You're incredibly quick, aggressive on the brakes, and you're able to go and stop a car dead in the middle of anywhere. I'm scared to engage second gear because that's way too fast for me.
Well, in endurance racing, you rarely drive close to your maximum anyway. You drive to reserve your tyres, you drive to control temperatures, and at a track like Barcelona, that is quite key. You know, we are seeing an ambient temperature at the minute of 22 degrees, but of course the track being the colour it is soaks up that heat, and we've got a track temperature of 29 degrees at the moment, which is quite warm. You go and put your hand on that circuit, you're going to feel the warmth come through, and this Pirelli rubber will start to cycle that heat through. There's a lot of high-speed right-hand turns here at Barcelona as well, so the left-hand side of your car, those two left-hand tyres will really start to soak that heat in, and especially for cars like the Nissan and the Mercedes, the front will really start to feel it. So once you get to sector 3 and you're trying to lean on that tyre for grip, the grip won't be there because the heat will have taken over and that tyre will just roll over the surface. So yeah, if you're a driver in these events, you really need to try and drive to control the temperatures.
Another thing that we got to bring in, fuel usage, because if you've got lead foot and you try and push too hard, like what we see Ernest Lundberg's fighting out with Florian right behind him, the two of them having a good go at one another, now suddenly having to figure out what's the next game plan. This is also burning fuel a little bit more than what you wanted to do. If you're going 3.1 litres per lap, you're now suddenly doing 3.5 litres per lap. That cuts down the amount of time you got in the car. And also in a 3-hour race, you got that splash and dash that's going to be a predominant thing. What can drivers do in this type of situation where you've sort of got a fight going on around you, or if you're in the middle of clear air, what can you do in the car to try and reduce that fuel usage, be a little bit more eco-friendly for now, and be able to lengthen your stint?
So, there's a few options the drivers have got. You can have a bit of a tactical short shift if you're following another car in close proximity. If you're going down the straight, you can utilise their downforce and just shift up a couple of gears quite early. So you've basically got less fuel being demanded by the engine. You can lift and coast, which rarely results in an overtake because you're not actually scrubbing off that much speed. You're just lifting off a little bit earlier. But I can tell you they probably won't be too concerned with the fuel use right now. They'll have a window they want to sit around, and as long as they're within that window, it won't really affect them too much. And especially during these early laps, they won't be focusing on the fuel. That will come towards the closing stages of the race when they've already made those predictions. They know what they want from the car, and they've got to drive to a number. At this stage, they're driving to know what that number is.
Absolutely incredible. So the middle stint is actually the most critical, because if you're in the middle of it, you can either make or break the race. The end is going to be race to the end. That's what you need to do. The start, push for as much as you can. But if you're in the middle, it's the critical point of just having enough fuel and tyres and protection on the car to ensure that the shotgun at the front and the shotgun at the back will help you out. We are starting to see more of the times coming in. Ruin Heineke getting a 5-second, along with Pretorius getting a 5-second penalty added on by our live stewards, while we keep an eye on Florin, who is in a fight with Ernest Lundbergs at the moment, with Jan, who's on the back of him. And I mean, Dolce is on a hot chase for the Skidmark Racing team, but they have got 10 seconds that they will need to serve during their pit stop before they can even get anything done on their car. They have to get that out of the way, and that's an extra 10 seconds for the drivers to have a bit of a rough time. I mean, that's one that getting out the car, you can't even buckle your mate in at the time. You have to just wait, twiddle your thumbs, maybe order a pizza at that point.
Yeah, and it feels like a vast yawning chasm of time as well, let me tell you, when he sat there in the pit box and just sat waiting for that penalty timer to run out. I can tell you the penalties that we've got coming in. We've already covered car 42, that was for a lap 1 incident. Car number 69 was for contact with car 30, that was the Lucas Kolb incident that we saw a few laps ago. And the car number 72 was for an incident on lap 5, where they were judged to have pushed to pass against another car, so they get a little bit of a penalty for that. And there is going to be another penalty for car number 13 coming in very shortly, which is again for a push to pass on car number 30. That's Lucas Kolb again. So Kolb being in the walls for the Tractor team quite early does.
Not quite what he wanted to have, and push to pass for anyone out there. I mean, that's generally an odd term that one would hear, but it is actually a common term in motorsport. Mostly in karting, you get to hear a push to pass coming into play. Chris, can you give us a bit of an idea of what is a push to pass, other than its name sounds like what it is?
Well, it is a bit like Ron Seal. You know, it's Ron Seal does what it says on the tin, really. It's when you have been adjudged by the stewards to have only made the overtake because of contact. So there is causing a collision, which can be, just broke a bit late, smashed into the back of another car. You may not necessarily have gained out of that, but you've caused a collision. A push to pass is where you've adjudged to have gained an advantage by causing contact with another car, typically via the means of an overtake. So sometimes a little bump and run into a corner is what we've, come to have seen before. Just looking at car 42, actually, with that penalty, he's snuck his way past the 930 BMW with a lovely move down to the hairpin that I've just been watching in the background, Steve, and that was lovely. He's now on the back of Lindbergh's in the Liam's Nissan.
We did in keeping that on the camera the whole time. It has been a wild one. But it's also been some risky moves going right up against the back of one another. I mean, Florin was keeping a huge amount of pressure on Ernest Lundbergs through some of the corners. A little bit close. Chris Heineke's penalty moved up to 15 seconds, and Marais also up to 10 seconds on their penalty. So it's going to be a bit of a wild one there. But Jan of Skidmark Racing is making the attempt to try and get that 10 seconds well away from most of the competitors, now up into 9th position, with Ernest Lundberg sitting in the middle of the sandwich of BMWs. Absolutely frightening stuff. We are getting reports in, though. Taylor Racing has unfortunately retired due to difficulties and technical difficulties putting him out of the race, which is rather unfortunate to see Taylor Motorsport going and dropping out, but I just wish they can try and get that car up and going. Sometimes you either got Lady Luck sitting in the pits, or you've got Murphy sitting there with your number 10 socket and your 13 spanner that you've been looking for.
Yeah, sometimes you've just got to power cycle things and hopefully it'll come back online. So if they can get that car back out on track, yeah, there'll be a couple of laps down, but they will get the love and adoration of the sim racing community if they're able to get that car back out on circuit, just to get the experience of some laps under the belt. I'm sure will be great for them. Getting some penalties in. So just to give you a bit of an update from the steward's office, the penalty for number 37 was for contact with car number 435. That was why they've got that 10-second penalty added to their next pit stop.
You know what? Next time I'm racing and I've got the stewards there, I'm getting a box of chocolates, a big box of chocolates for them, just so they don't throw the flags out on me. It's like, there we go, just appreciate all the hard work, love and caring. And what number are you? which number do you want me to be at that point?
Just picked with love from car number 4 on the top of a chocolate box. Yeah. Bribery unfortunately doesn't work, but the chocolates will be welcome. Now, it's a bit of a thankless task being a steward. You don't get any of the glory, you get all of the blame for potentially wrecking someone's race, but without people doing this, we wouldn't be able to put on the level of production that we can, so we thank them dearly for their thankless work.
That's it. Absolutely incredible stuff, and it's something you can actually learn. A lot of people are wondering, like, how on earth do you become a steward? It's actually reasonably easy. Just ask. The stewards are more than happy to guide and teach, and even if you're a driver that's just curious, they always got an option to have you there. Oh, Bazra is unfortunately going and losing it, and now just returning to the circuit right in front of Jan van Venter in the final 2 corners. So I had a bit of a rough one out there, just trying to get the car up and going after a little bit of a spin. We're keeping an eye on Pascal, our reptile racing, going on the back of Camille's son. Anna's got Jason Farmer on the back of him, trying to push a little bit harder as well. Got to say, some incredible racing out there for the drivers and just trying to get their way through. Now, I've got a question. We're at 2 hours and 35 minutes into this race, and we've got to ask, when are the cars expected to come into the pits? When do cars roughly get in the pits? I mean, sprint racing, we see them at 45 minutes in the pits, quick out, and that's it, carry on. If it's an hour, sometimes they run the 59.9 before bailing into the pits. This time around, drivers are needing to swap out to their compatriots in the car and say, there we go, steering wheel's yours, carry on. So when do we roughly expect these cars at full tilt that they're going in? I mean, 144.1, that was set by David Schutzer, and he's been keeping the average time. It's a bit on the wild side. When do we expect these cars to come?
So I'd expect the schedule. So the drivers have a stint time of 50 minutes. Now I would definitely expect them to adhere to that. That you have to come through pit lane by the time 50 minutes has elapsed to at least reset your stint timer. So whether that be a full bore pit stop with a driver change, fuel tyres, all that malarkey, or just driving through the pit lane to reset your stint timer, I would expect in about 25 minutes we'll start to see a lot of drivers coming in. And probably do a driver change and get your driver in for the middle stint. My strategy for this would be to then do a little bit of a splash and dash and then a stint to the end, just so that you know who you're fighting with and where. Some drivers may want to do a splash and dash near the end of the race, just so you've got a really light car for the end. But it's strategy that's going to define this one, I think. But yeah, in about 25 minutes you'll start to see drivers come into the pit lane, and that's when we'll start to see all sorts of shenanigans happen.
Well, I do want to point out is a driver that thought he was done, dusted, and out of the race. And I've got to say, thanks to our awesome spectators, the Mustang is sitting, waiting to go. Mickey Taylor getting ready to go green and is now heading back out onto the circuit.
Yes.
That is what we love. Go, Mickey, go.
Awesome.
It would be, go, Mickey, you're so fun, you blow my mind. Hey, Mickey. Hey, Mickey.
Mickey and his Mustang, yeah, back out on track. Awesome to see. The team have got done some work to get that car back out there. They're a number of laps down, but it's the spirit of racing that can't be denied. It's brilliant to see that we've got another car back out on track and saved the retirement. So yeah, awesome stuff. That does mean as well for him that he's effectively done a pit stop already, so he doesn't have to he doesn't have to stop for 50 minutes yet. He can just go full bore out there.
He's just got to keep going and mining out of the way, trying to get things going. Absolutely incredible to see the tenacious of the drivers, and this is something we've grown to expect from so many sim racers across the globe. Drivers going and pushing that step forward. Now that you're in a team race, you are going and having your team saying, come on, let's get behind you, let's get going. And whenever you think that no one's watching, you always just go back to the grandstands and you can just see the enthusiasm, the energy that comes in. The guys are saying, come on, let's get you going, let's get you back out on track there. If you run into a problem, people are going and reaching out and trying to get you back out on track. There is, however, one car that's not back out on track, and that is Miles Stone, the 474 car that is stuck in pit lane. Baz Rez was in pit lane for quite some time after a bit of repair work to his car, but Miles hasn't budged from his pit box. I wonder what's going on with the 474 car. Hopefully we can get a better idea of what's going on there. Currently, two of the closest battles on circuit was what we've seen on screen. Ernest Lundbergs and Florian van Hees going nose to tail against one another, and Christoph Peterson fighting out with Dean O'Keefe at current. So this is going to be a bit of an interesting run. Dean solo driver against Christoph, who has got, well, a bit of backup in hand. Ernest Lundbergs in the Liam's Nissan has got Liam's Nissan. I mean, you don't need any more backup. The guy's flattened out many of those in the past. Florian on the back of him with the VMV BMW M4 GT3, just keeping on a huge amount of pressure, trying to figure out where he can get on by. We got Wayne Ferreira battling out with Gerard Pretorius. They're having a good go at one another a little bit further back for 17th and 18th position. So we're starting to see those little fights getting bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes on. But once again, bringing in what is those heat cycles gonna look like during the course of this race.
Yeah, well, I'm just on board. I've been riding on board with the 111 Ferrari of Dean just to see what the car behaviour is like for everybody, and I can tell you, Christoph's really hustling that that Nissan GTR. Dino's getting really close whenever there's a corner, but that GTR just walks away as soon as you get to a straight. So Dean must be really frustrated at the moment. And this may well have to be a, right, do we take less fuel in the pits? Do we just try and get track position through the pit lane? Because it's going to be difficult to do it on track without a mistake from the Nissan.
I've got to say it's a rough one. I know Dean has been practicing on how to go and run single stints, single runs on tyres, but he is also utilizing so much engine braking at the moment to just try and get that car a little bit closer. Seeing Christoph getting a little bit unsettled. Oh, Christoph, big mistake, missing out the apex too late on the anchors, and now he has got Dino here side by side with him. These two know each other all too well, racing in South Africa, racing all the way out. Now here at ERA, they've got an idea of what needs to be done. Both are going to be incredible fighters, but once again, this plays into the hand of David Schutten, who's going to be just keeping an eye on the mirror and saying, well, there's an opportunity here to start distancing myself in a great way. Cedric Muir going and fighting out in 15th position with Lucas Collab, trying to have a look on the inside, that Lamborghini utilizing every bit of road possible, but unfortunately the prancing horse is just outdoing the bull through the corners.
Yeah, these guys are coming up. We're starting to see some lap traffic now as well, by the way. So that might be playing a part into some of these little fights that we're seeing. That was especially true for the Christoph and Dean fight that I was just keeping an eye on. They came up to the back of an Aston Martin, and you know the Aston wanted to let them go as quickly as possible. But I don't think Christoph was expecting it, and I saw a little bit of a violent shake of the wheel. And there's another car coming out in front of them right now as well. So Christoph will be, I can tell you now, he's shouting some obscenities in German behind that steering wheel to just try and give him a bit of clear road. Because while this is going on, of course, they're losing time over David Schutten. So David was a 44.6 last lap, and Christoph and Dean are doing it in the 46s now because of the battling.
Well,
so it's slowing them down.
He's in for the fight to try and get past the Wise Racing at this point. And this is where you start to wonder what's wise at this point. Was it wise to come out in front of these two fighting cars? Is it wise to lift and let them go? Or would it be better and be a far better option to just continue on holding your line, not defending it, but keeping the speed up just enough, helping to facilitate the pass, letting the guys utilize the slipstream, gets him on by easier, you're not put offline, you don't become unpredictable. Very wise moves done by John at the moment, and good to see that the likes of our Wise Racing utilizing that. He's going to instantly have the problem with Michael Castro onto the back of him. Ernest Lundbergs onto the back of Matthew Alves. He's actually lost a position to Florence and to Matthew for getting a little bit unsettled. The 420 not looking as clean as it was. So this is a bit of a replay of what happened. So he had Florent on the back of him, all looking okay. And unfortunately, it looked like the Nissan getting a little bit of a BMW checkup into the corner. Oh, that was a little bit of a net code by the looks of it, where there's a bit of distance, a bit of daylight there. But now it is up for Mateus Elvis to go and deal with the likes of Ernest Lundbergs, who dives up on the inside. Whoa, Jan VDV also having to bind out of the way, having these guys rush up. But I gotta say, for the Nebula Esports, going and fighting all the way out from Brazil, going and seeing an absolutely incredible drive for that Porsche.
Yeah, it's had a really, really strong opening start. Of course, in a straight line, it's always going to struggle against the Nissan. The Nissan is just so powerful in a straight line. And now dealing with some lap traffic, of course, it's just getting in the way of them a little bit. But there's no denying that Alves has been one of the stars of the show this early stint. We'll see what we can do for the rest of the race. You know, the Porsche is one of those cars that's a little bit more difficult to hold on to things like tyre temps. So is tyre degradation starting to play a part for that Porsche? I wouldn't think so this early on in the race, but you never know.
He's in the dirty air of Florent at the moment. He is chucking out a huge amount of debris as he goes over the marbles, as he hunts for a way to get past Ernest Lundbergs. And I mean, this is a tricky one because it doesn't matter which way you go. You're going to be in the dirty air of a car around you as they both jostling for position and you're trying to close up as well. It changes your points of where you're braking, where you're accelerating, where you're going to move up through the order, and where are you going to really get that climb yet again. Milestone still parked in pit lane though. Not going to be a good one for him as that team is now starting to lose a bit of time. It does help out Mickey Taylor though, who's out and really pushing yet again to try and score a position. So still seeing a lot of driving at the moment, a lot of hard racing at the moment. The question comes in, how long can the drivers keep it up for? How long are the teams going to allow it to happen during the course of this fight? And with those needing to serve penalties, well, when are you going to get in the box? When are you going to sort out your penalty and then be able to go racing on the way through? So, I mean, this is going to be a proper run for our drivers.
Yeah, there's all this to play out yet. We've got 2 hours, 24 minutes left to go. Plenty of changes will happen just yet. And of course, like you correctly said, those penalties are really going to throw a spanner in the works for some of these teams. They will not have planned for that. So there is no strategy plan that they will have made coming into this race that will have included getting a penalty. You just don't do that. It's bad luck to think about it. So you really have to react on the fly. But there's not a lot you can do. Sometimes you just have to soak it and just take it, and what will be, and just try and race smart and get that time back on the track.
Well, a person that knows all too well of, bringing the wrath of a penalty, but also has got a bit of inside knowledge. We're going to have a chat to Daniel de Villiers, also known as the Hitman, after taking out his team boss, literally diving up into the door years ago. But Daniel de Villiers of PWSR, welcome to ERA. First time in this commentary box. You know where the coffee is. It's over there. If you're looking for the biscuits, don't go for it. It's mine. You guys can have your own.
Hi, Stephen. Hi, Chris. How you all?
Hello. Very good, thank you. Very good. So, how do you think your guys are getting on so far in this race?
Yeah, well, it's very early to tell. Dean is very patient behind Christoph there in the Nissan. And our newcomer, Jason Farmer, there is doing well as well, also doing a solo run here. And yeah, they're all pretty confident and all calm for this race.
And it's interesting to see now the dynamics of the team. You got 2 solo drivers having a go at one another, having a go at this. Your role at the moment, what is it? Is it just going and chatting to the drivers, making sure they're okay, giving them a bit of confidence of you doing well, or are you coming with the big spoon telling him that the lap time by a 10th is off and we're going to give you a bit of a a rap over the knuckles. What's your role in the entire fight? As we see Jason Farmer trying to avoid the likes of Pascal, but also trying to gain a position, and has Jan right on the back of him, looking to get on by.
Yeah, well, Stephen, I didn't plan on being at the computer tonight, but yeah, anything for my team to support them and give them every little bit of info that I can, a point of view from my experience in the Nissan and so on. So yeah, trying to give as much info as I can to the team, and yeah, and Alan as well, also doing a good work keeping the team under control and calm, and also providing info and so on.
Absolutely great stuff, and gotta say, some interesting times. But what is expected of the likes of the newly signed Jason Farmer, as there's obviously a bit of pressure coming off the back of Griffin Sim Racing Team being signed up with PWSR at the moment, jumping into a solo enduro. That is already a tough ask for a shuffling new team, but also now to really show what he can do. Is you guys telling him you got to go for a top 10, or is it get across the line, go and enjoy the race, we'll see you at the end?
Well, Stephen, to be fair, I think the goal is always do better than where you quali. If worse than that, then you know you are under pressure and stuff. But we believe in Jason and the skills that he has, and we can provide him with more updates and advice to improve and get faster and so on during his course at PWSR. But we believe in him, and we believe he will do better than he has ever been done. So yeah.
Then I'm going to ask the incredibly nasty question, because I know the love of the Nissan, but I also know how much you support your team. But if you had to pick one to win the race, will it be the Ferrari or will it be the Nissan?
Stephen, that's the easy answer. It will be my team PWSR.
Okay.
Don't try and trick me.
Fair
Allegiance of the clear, obviously. Yeah.
Well, that's fair enough. I think it's all fun and games until there's suddenly a PWSR Nissan. Then it's going to be a completely different answer.
Yeah, so it all depends if Chris can maybe let Dean go and follow Dean to get the leaders, and then they can work together to catch him. But they're losing time at the moment, so I think they need to consider that a bit. Team LNR, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. You know.
I've got no communication network to my team, so I can't get involved. I did mention that actually in commentary. I did say that the fighting that was going on was actually losing them at that time when I talked about it, about a second and a half a lap. And the BMW is now 4 seconds in the lead, whereas when they first started that little battle, there was about a second and a half between them. So, yeah, settling the differences. But is the plan now with Dean, because he's struggling to get past him? Is the plan to try and do something clever in the pit stops? Is there maybe backup strategies in order, or can you not tell me? Obviously.
At the moment, I do not know his strategy at the moment. He is struggling to get by. That Nissan's top speed is just miraculously impressive. And in the corners where Chris struggles a bit, especially the last sector that I've noticed, myself included, know the Nissan tire dies there at the last sector. It's overheating and such. But the only thing saving the Nissan is the top speed. But yeah, Dean will get past. I believe he's smart in what he needs to do.
Well, Dean's in
just
the
peel
box.
off into the pit lane.
So he's decided, losing a little bit too much time there. 2 hours and 18 minutes. We're seeing our pit stop arrival of one of our top 10s going and jumping in. So a bit of an interesting one there. I'm going to actually ask Mr. De Villiers to go and find out. Maybe just give us a bit of a hint what's going on. I'll give you 2 chocolate chip cookies as a deal.
Steven, I can't promise anything, but I'll do my best.
Remember, it's chocolate chip cookies. It's like the best in the world. I mean, come on. I'll raise you a chocolate milkshake, but nothing more than that.
Yeah. Tell you what, Dean, Steven, can you maybe try and beat me in that Audi or the BMW you do on the practice run a bit?
Yeah, no, there's asking for miracles, my friend. There is asking for miracles. But we'll see, we'll see. But looking forward to it, and hopefully get to see you out on the track with the PWSR for round 2 of the ERA Endurance. I mean, that's going to be an incredible one. 4 hours of Kota. Come on, you actually have got a bit of groundwork there.
No, thank you, Stephen. I'll pass on that.
Oh, that's not the way to do it, bud. No, but it's all okay. We understand. Well, it'll be interesting to go and hear some of the tactics going on and see how it's going. But keep an eye, Jason Farmer onto the back of Jan, who's been making some great moves, and Pascal keeping a solid defense at the moment. But for the Skidmark Racing team, 10 seconds added to their time is going to make things a little bit difficult. Chris Heineke with 15 seconds added to his time for the big Bentley. Chris, what do you think is going to be the ideas here as we do see Jason Farmer's into the pits? This is under the hour mark that it seems like everyone else is going for.
Yeah, I mean, the stint timer is a maximum. As long as you don't exceed it, you're fine. So between now and 50 minutes, so within the next 3 or 4 laps, we'll see most cars in the pits. The guys that are diving in early, it makes sense if you're in a close contest fight. The undercut can be quite powerful here because of the increased tyre degradation, because of that track temperature. So people like Dean and Jason Farmer that have dived in probably a little bit earlier than the stint timer needs them to, they're just trying to undercut the competition and get out in front of them when they eventually come into the pits. Or, you mentioned the 10-second penalty for the number 42 car, for example, and there's other guys with penalties. If I'm being honest, there's not a lot they can do. It's just going to be, they're just going to have to soak it up, really. They can't really include that in the strategy. They've not been able to outdrive it. They're just going to have to do something about that separately. If you're car number 42, you're looking at Correa, who is 11 and a bit seconds behind you. You're watching that gap, and as long as that stays at about that length, you're not panicking too much about it at this time. You'll just have to, drive quicker.
Just gonna have to drive quicker. That's a simple notion, as we see Camille trying to make his way around, getting past the track tool team, the Garage 59. Pascal getting a run out a little bit wide, trying to get past the track tool team. That has allowed Skidmark Racing to get into the fray. Reptile Racing having to back off a little bit, and nearly having a 68 going a little bit too wrong out there. The track tool team just trying to keep it all together. A little bit side by side as they head through the final corner. And this is going to hurt. Oh! The skid mark into the side of Track Tool. And that unfortunately put them hard into the wall. Jan down the order with a very bent BMW at this point. And now he's going to have Nicholas Cora saying, thank you very much for that one. And we were just talking about it. There is a proper run through the order. So Nicholas Cora up into 6th position. Jan a little bit down the order into 7th. And Ernest Lumbriggs, who is going, well, I remember thee, and I am coming for thee. I've got a particular set of skills for thee, as we go looking to get by with the Nissan.
Yeah, he's definitely chasing down all sorts of terrorists at the moment. Is Lindbergh's. Just have a look at the stewarding side of things. That incident with car number 42 has just been flagged as under investigation by the stewards, so we'll have an update on that in the coming minutes, no doubt, and we'll see what comes of that. But yeah, these pit stops now starting to trickle through. We've got what I was going to have a look at is where Farmer's come out in a really good position. He's in tons of clear air. And Dean, where's Dean?
Dean's behind him.
On my list.
Dean's
behind him.
Yeah, Dean did an earlier pit stop, but is now down. But I can tell you why. Jason Farmer was stopped in the box for 21 seconds. Dean, 32.6. That means Dean's got a fresh set of boots on his car. Jason Farmer going and keeping an extra set just to carry him through a little bit further. So a bit of an interesting run there for the likes of Jason Farmer. But it also shows how much time can be lost in pit lane throughout this all. I mean, this is a big one. If you're just joining us, a massive welcome to you guys here at ERA. Glad to have you around. Where have you been? The racing has started. There's plenty of racing that you've missed. But don't worry, we're going to bring you with some more of the action. going back to all, but top of the hour though, we're going to just do a quick recap of who was where when this whole thing went on and got the best starts, as we do see Nicholas Cora, Jan into the pits, and Yanis Marais into the pits as well. Ulrich Diaga trying to make up some time on Nathan Warren, but a little fight that's starting to happen for the track tool team. New driver in the car. We got Ariel Jar, who has got Matthew East on the back of him for the AA driving school, and we've got Felix Carmack now for the Los Pantos Hermanos in the BMW, making up a bit of time. They've got the Wise Racing, John Spriggs, closing down on them.
Yeah, we're at 48 and a half minutes, by the way, through the stint from the green flag. So you'll start to see these pit stops absolutely fly in now. With a lap taking 1 minute 40 odd, you've really got to be pitting the next time round for most of these drivers. Like, you know, if you've not pitted already, you've got to get it done now.
Well, we've also got to take our hat off to Mickey Taylor, who's gained a position since the start of the race. Now, this is a car that landed up starting from pit lane because of a problem, landed up in the wall because of a problem, thought to be retired. The crowd convinced the driver, get back in there, get back behind the wheel, and is still circulating and closing up some time. And it's absolutely fantastic to see. We do have a couple of drivers coming out of the pits. Brandon Harvey climbing in for the Wise Racing Endurance BMW. Yanis Marais going and continuing on. We got Ivan Moltov. He's going to be continuing on. Jan now coming out of the pit lane. No repair work done to that BMW though. Going and doing as little as possible to carry on their little bit of a race. Ernest Lundbriggs now into the pits along with Pascal. We got David Schuten into the pits. Michael Castro's into the pits. Chris Heineke, Camille Hissin, Ruben Heineke coming through, Camille Hissin, Christoph Peterson. We have got so much happening at the moment. The amount of drivers getting changeovers, but this also does bring in, like we take a look at Arul Jar at the moment, he's on the back of Tobias Hartmann ahead of him, and he's got John Spriggs on the back. Now, John has been on the track since the start of the race. The two drivers ahead of him, on the other hand, are trying to get to grips with their cars, get to grips with the situation that's going on, and after having a quick pep talk from the drivers beforehand saying, listen, it's a bit mad out there. You got to really keep your foot in it. And this endurance race is actually a 3-hour sprint race. Hammer down. I mean, what does this do that you've now switched over? I mean, Chris, you've come from a long, long history into the world of endurance racing and have been the second driver after the start.
Yeah, I mean, you'll have sat there pretty much ready as driver number 2. You know, typically taking the second stint, you will be ready pretty much from the green flag, sat there waiting to go. So itchy feet syndrome kicks in. You'll have been getting tips from your driver. The driver that's handing over will have given you some updates on the track condition, how they found the setup of the car, anything that you need to do differently from when you've practiced it. But you've put the preparation in to your stint. You know what you've got to do. You've just got to go out there and deliver it. And those opening lap nerves, you just need to get through the first few laps without incident, and you settle into a really nice rhythm. So the key for these drivers now is get into a rhythm, and not make any mistakes that are going to sort of shatter your confidence, really. So you might see the lap times a little bit conservative at start. That is sometimes just these drivers getting into that muscle memory and getting back into the frame of mind of driving and not spotting. Yeah, it's one of those things with endurance racing. It's not the easiest job in the world to be the second and follow-up driver, but it's certainly less stressful than doing a race start. So, I prefer it that way as well.
Well, we're going to be seeing John Spriggs going to be handing over the car to Adam Stewart a little bit later. They're going to be having a bit of fun out in the BMW, and as they're keeping the pressure on Tobias Hartmann at the moment, the 42 car doing an incredible job and trying to carry on. The skid mark racing has been in a few scuffles, we can say, throughout the race, and a little bit of damage on the car does show a bit of war wounds of how their race has gone. But Tobias, now the second driver looking to go through, is going to be battling out, and Gerald Pretorius, who is around the outside for the Griffin Sim Racing team, carries on his little bit of momentum, and just outbraking himself a little bit there. Drivers trying to find their feet on the track and the track at the moment 2 degrees cooler from where we started this race.
Yeah, one thing I've just been scrolling through in the background, Stephen, is the pit stop times. So you get an indication as to who's doing what strategy-wise just by looking at how long they're in the pits. There's been a number of drivers that have taken tyres that we'd probably expect, but more than I thought have just done like drive-throughs to reset stint timers. So that means their line-to-line pit stops about 30 seconds rather than 1 minute and 5, something like that. So drivers like Heineke, there was another one that I just saw a moment ago that have basically just done drive-throughs. Parvey is another one. They're going to win big this early stage in the race, but they're probably going to have to take those tyres later in the race, and their lap times will probably suffer. Those tyres that have been on the car now for 55 minutes nearly, and they will start to feel the pain.
Well, Felix Colmack heading out onto the circuit. They've also had a bit of a difficult time, a disconnect, and now reconnecting. Good to see them out there, but they've just arrived at the worst time for the likes of Dino Kia, who puts a little bit of pressure on the side. He actually assists the car to land up holding back Jason Farmer, his own teammate, and Christoph Peterson snatches in for that second place. So Jason Farmer thought to go around the outside. Dino Kia was on the inside. He landed up putting a bit of pressure onto the BMW, shuffled him out a little bit, and that landed up having a bit of a problem as they go through. As we do have the 68, the track tool team, round and round she goes. Where she stops, only that person will know. And currently, it's right behind Lewis Stomfontein, who manages to get on by. Lewis of the Griffin Sim Racing team, going and picking up a little bit more of the race. And I've got to say, a new name that I've personally haven't got to commentate on. Lewis Stomfontein, so good to see you, and good to have you part of the Griffin Sim Racing team. It's nice to actually see this, because there's a couple of names that I personally, in South Africa, haven't been able to commentate on. They're in various different Pro-Am and Pros, but getting to see the different driving dynamics is absolutely great. But Jason Farmer just took a hammering from David Schutten diving into third place, and that unfortunately has put Jason Farmer in fourth. Ruben Heineke, former teammate, is now chasing him down. So Ruben Heineke, the Griffin Sim Racing team, going, listen, once a Griffin, always a Griffin, and I'm going to grab you around the neck.
Yeah, both of those Ferraris, by the way, I'm going to at least hazard a guess, are still on their original race start tyres. Why drivers like Peterson, Schutten, and probably soon to be Grosch in the 440 BMW are going to have a bit of an easier time with them, is they're all on new tyres. So the Ferraris and the PWSRs taking their pain early in hopes that it will pay off for them later.
It's always a tough call, I have to say, and where the drivers are just trying something a little bit different. And as we see Peterson constantly putting the pressure on, David Schutten getting into the fight, not wanting to slow up at any point here. And Ruben Heineke has got a 5 seconds. We got John with the 20 seconds. And our stewards, live stewards, are just working overtime at the moment. And bless their souls for all the hard work that they do. But also, man oh man, wouldn't like to be in that fight. Do want to point out though, Nicholas Cora, we saw out in the McLaren a little bit earlier down the line, is our gold champion and done an incredible job to really earn that position, still putting in a great fight, something we actually spoke about during our Sunday championships, which, guys, keep an eye on the Discord, be part of it. It's incredible. The Sunday championships are always a bit of fun, mixture of conditions, definitely tests you as a driver, and there is a team championship, a driver championship, and a manufacturer's championship, which is unheard of in my world of time commentating, which is absolutely incredible. So keep an eye on the Discord there. But we talked about Nicholas Cora and his consistency. Now we're getting to see quite a few other drivers with their consistency on the way through. Christian Goch, on the other hand, though, is a driver that many people are going to be very wary of. He's a driver that snuck up on us a few times during the Sunday Championship, actually landing up in some really great positioning to move his way up through the order.
Stephen, I've just been summoned to the steward's office for a moment. I just need to go and assist with something, so I will be back in a couple of minutes.
No problem. Remember, box of chocolates. Big box of chocolates. Don't shout at the commentators. That's what you need. But, well,
I'll let them know.
Fantastic. And absolutely great. So, as you can see, there is lots of hats being worn by my co-commentator, other than being a incredible voice that you get to hear. There's also getting involved in the background scene. Once again, absolutely great stuff. So there is 3 tire sets that they can play with, and that's what you're going to have to work with. You've got 3 tire sets to handle through this race. So if you're just joining us, a big welcome and a recap from the start. David Schutten was off to a great launch off the line and got ahead for the early stages of the race. Christoph Peterson, Dean Nokia fought it out for a long period of time. We did have a few scuffles on the way through. A couple of drivers landing up with some big bangs on their car, such as Skidmark Racing, unfortunately, landing up not in too big impacts to their car. We did see Mickey Taylor, unfortunately, going into the wall, having a problem with their car, but is able to get the Taylor Motorsport car back onto the circuit. Solo driver, great to see out there. A couple of other little fights going on throughout the race. A couple of interesting team-ups have also made its way into the world of the endurance scene, and it's good to see them out there. That being said, though, we have to take it into effect. You can run a tire set per hour, but you do have 50 minutes for each driver to be in the car. So they have to get themselves sorted out, and it really does change the dynamics that go into the race. Tobias Hartmann, though, for the 42, and that is likes of Tobias Hartmann going up very, very wide and utilizing a little bit more of the circuit during the course of his race here at Barcelona. It started out 30 degrees, we're down to 28. It's now 3 p.m. in the afternoon, well, 5 minutes past 3 if you want to get very technical, and that may affect how the cars run in it all. Taking a look over to our grandstands, we've got Brennan Kruger going and joining in. We got Danny Fullion, also great to see you. Skirt Reynolds, one of our top drivers here in ERA, and Skirt absolutely incredible behind a Mustang, might I add, and very, very well known in the endurance scene. I want to see more of him out there. We've got LC Jabir having a bit of fun, which is great to see. Tourist out there. Max going in, giving a bit of a shout, which is absolutely great to see. Stephen Milano James going and cheering on as well from the grandstands, and just a variety. A big welcome to you all. Absolutely grand to see you. But I want to actually ask the simple question. Who do you think has the advantage in this race? We've got solo drivers, and we have got drivers that are, well, they're in packs. Like what we've got here with Christoph Peterson and Dean Nokia. They are fighting out with one another. And Dean Nokia, first time out in ERA soil, going and fighting against the likes of Christoph Peterson. Schutten has got the fastest lap time out in the race, and that is a 1:43.595. Do want to point out a couple of drivers are managing to get close to the time, but due to off tracks, they're landing up losing that time. So this is a valid time that got put in, and now he's looking to keep up that pace all the way through in this incredible 3 hours of Barcelona for round 1, season 1, the debut of the ERA endurance that has been a build-up. No joke, folks. This has been building up since 2024. It was starting to get planned. It started to get worked on. It started to get actioned. And on the 25th of January was their first warm-up. The 33, unfortunately, and that is Ryan Esson of Triassic Enduro, getting themselves turned around and trying to get back into it. And Triassic Enduro, Ryan having to get back on the loud pedal and shouting out there for America, will be looking to make on some way through it all. A couple of drivers out there. Yanis Ferrer has had a penalty added to his time. Terence Ferreira going and taking over from his brother, now looking to carry on. The Ferreira brothers doing an absolutely bang-up job, but now going to have Yanis all over the back of him. Yanis has been in the car since the start of the race, and wow, took all the curb plus more. And Terence Ferreira, no fighting out there, said, listen, take it, I'm not going to argue with it. We're not going to get into a brawl just now. I'm going to give it a corner or two, and then I'm going to hunt you down. Like he takes a big look on the inside. Late on the anchors. Oh, Terrence getting a little bit squirrely in 16th position as he keeps the pressure on. You can see how he's battling to keep it all in check. Seeing that Coach Dave written on the back of the Aston Martin of Yanis Pereira at the moment, who's doing an incredible job to carry on the momentum all the way through. Absolutely great to see it. David Schutten keeping the pressure on Christoph Peterson at the moment as they make their way through. And Christoph now needing to focus back to his rearview mirror as Schutten looking to go and fight it out. Now, Schutten, we spoke about a little bit earlier, drove the Mustang in the Sunday Championship to talk about how their race went for last season. Christoph Peterson became the 5-time Diamond Champion, and he had Ernest Lumbriggs take second place. He had the likes of Darius, who took third, and David Schutten, who's currently in the car behind him, taking fourth on 58 points to Christoph Peterson's 113 points. So David's got it in the back of his mind to make an impact now in a new car, and we have heard the incredible news that he has been building up to have quite a variety of teammates backing him up. The police car is about to have an entire precinct getting thrown at our drivers, which is incredible to see. Dino Kier, though, going a little bit slower into turn one this time around, trying to protect his tires, but lights are starting to turn on. We do see Christoph Peterson's lights starting to just glow a little bit on the track surface. And that tells where we're going to be by the end of this 3-hour race. We're going to start looking at the darkness a little bit and starting to inspect those times. Are going, well, brake markers are starting to move, the shadows are starting to become a little bit more of a factor. Maybe where you've been looking out at a certain tree, that starts to dissipate as well out on the circuit. This is only round one of the championship. We do have plenty more racing to come, and we do have our next one on the 19th of April at Circuit of Americas. It's 4 hours of COTA, so definitely head over to SimGrid down in the description for the ERA Endurance season. And just hearing, coming back to the commentary side, good to have Mr. Chris Wall. Chris, welcome back. Hopefully nice words spoken that you and I are not going to get the black flag.
Yeah, we're good. We're in the clear, so no issues for us up here in the commentary box. Some quite nice conditions over in the steward's office as well. There's some strange bouquets of flowers with Ferrari badges on, which I don't understand what that was for. But yeah, they're doing God's work up there. And I was just called in for a second opinion on an incident. Just sometimes if they have a bit of a conflict, they need someone else in there. So they will drag me in occasionally if they need that second opinion. Be keeping an eye on in the background actually just the battle for the lead, I guess, with Dean, Christoph, and David Schutten. That we have done 37 laps now, Stephen, and the leaders are all within like a second and a half of each other. This is less than a second, I guess. Like this just shows the level that these guys are running at. Is that they can run for this long and still be so close together.
I was also taking a look. There's a couple of drivers that you got to be aware of. Dino Kier's been running 144, so is Christoph Peterson, so is David Schutten. But the likes of Christian Goff and the likes of Camilleson have been running 144s as well. So don't count them out of this. Unfortunately for Jason Farmer, he's a second off that time and is dropping back. So he's going to have a world of hurt coming to him. Camilleson and Christian Goff having a good go at one another, trying to pull each other through the order. See the likes of Jason Farmer just ahead. And I wonder if there's going to be that little bit of a message sent down the pit lane of, hey, listen, let's not argue, let's get past, and let's carry on. That's something that drivers can do. Your teams are allowed to ask maybe if you would like to be polite. Sometimes it doesn't work out so well. 27, however, for the ERA race gang of Chris Polakut going and landing up into the dirt and now just trying to rejoin in front of our pack that we were just talking about. And Chris not having an easy time out there for the 27. Let's quickly go back and see what happened, because all looked okay for the ERA Racing gang. And where did it all go wrong? So all looking fine heading into the hairpin. Now this is heading towards the back section. Oh, the rear just stepped out. And it was that slow, horrible slide. Then you get on the power and you now parked into the dirt. You caught onto the curbing. I've got to say, some of the slides that I've seen
Something's up with Dean, by the way. Sorry to interject, but Dean is now in P3.
111. It looks like Christoph Peterson in the 751. I'm getting a report. So let's quickly take a look. Dean moves to the right-hand side, heading into turn 1. And David Schuton trying to get on by. They did have a Griffin Sim Racing McLaren around them. And, oh, Dean got a little bit upset on the rear. That slid him out slightly into the side of Christoph Peterson. He's still able to recover it. But, man, oh, man, that has now changed up the ball game completely for Dean Nokia, who's now 2.3 seconds back and has just gone and slid on those tires. That means it's not going to be a great one to hover around on for a long time.
We know he's got the pace to recover it. He's just got to keep a level head in there. You know, these things do happen. You mentioned a minute ago about Grosh. Him and Hassan have been having a right ding-dong battle for the last couple of laps. They are now right on the back of Farmer. This could upset things a little bit more. Farmer won't want to give them an easy ride, I'd imagine, and let them through. But Grosh and Hassan behind do have the pace at the moment on the Ferrari.
Yeah, this is always a tough one, I've got to say. For Jason Farmer, he's in a bit of a tough spot here, as Christian Goth going and letting him know that, listen, I'm going to come on by. Camille going to also be chasing down, as they've got some incredible straight line speed on the likes of the BMW and the Aston Martin. You got Jason Foreman trying to cover the inside line. He's going to go late on the anchors, trying to throw the car through. Oh! Understeered out. That landed up with contact against Grosh. And immediately, Camille's onto the back of him, trying to figure out where he can get on by. Just didn't have enough opportunity there. But Jason Farmer looked like the car just got unsettled. And that was all she wrote. But Camille getting forced to the grass. And Grosh not going and giving him any reprieve at this point. The Aston Martin now looking to get elbows out as we enter the 1 hour and 49 minutes. And this is starting to look towards the time that generally our Sunday championships are around with. And drivers are a little bit used to at this point. Oh, we've also got a problem for Sean Werby for the Nebula Esports is stopped on the outside of turn 1. Trying to get the car re-fired up, but it takes one person to miss a brake marker, and this is going to hurt. Man, oh man. Sean is in the worst spot possible, and that Nebula Esports that we've been talking about earlier in the broadcast is now stranded, and it looks like they're battling to get the car going.
He's got it back underway again. Yeah, we're just having a look and see what might have happened with that. Really hard to try and ascertain what the problem might have been for the number 28 Porsche. Luckily managed to just stop it off the racing line. Otherwise, it would have like been having a flat tire on the fast lane of the motorway. Fortunately, out of danger for a lot of people. So that's probably why race control weren't panicking immediately and just threw the yellow flag out as a caution. Good visibility here in Barcelona, of course. So we would have been easily seen. That car back underway again, but has dropped a lot of time in the process.
And it's one of those frustrating ones, but we are seeing Camille now trying to get past one of the Griffin Sim Racing cars. He saw Christian Goth landing up with a bit of a problem. This has allowed Jason Farman to get back into the fray as well, as they chase down the track tool team just ahead of them. And Camille is constantly hounding, trying to figure out where can he get past the Los Pantos Hermanos BMW, and that is just part of the three ducks that has just came out of nowhere for motorsport. I have seen the Los Pantos Hermanos in iRacing and in ACC so far, and I can tell you, as a family, they are united. They are the bird of a feather, that is for sure.
They're united by their love of all things feathery. Yeah, Camille, he's in the Aston Martin, which has a little bit of a superpower in terms of its tyres. So the Aston should be quite a strong candidate for these endurance championships. It holds onto its tyres really well. The car is exceptionally well balanced, so you don't really get excessive graining on that car. Not something that you can say for some other cars on this circuit. The BMW not a bad car either, and Grosh certainly knows how to hustle. So he will be really, he's going to be eyes forward and eyeing up that gap to Dean up ahead. But Camille will just want to try and, these blue flag drivers, not making life easy for them. And that's what Camille will be hoping for. He's got a really good run now coming onto the main start-finish straight. He'll hang in the tow as long as possible. The Aston Martin probably a little bit stronger in a straight line. Does he bump draft him down the straight? Does Grosh defend this one? He does. He moves to the outside. Camille has to switch back to the racing line. Yeah, and hope really. He goes deep. Yeah, Grosh goes deep on the brakes. And that is Camille through. That was, that was one of those situations where you basically try and force a mistake from another driver. And that looks to be, at least on the surface, what happened there.
Well, Christian Goth, unfortunately, looked like he was going in for the move on the track tool team. And that was one of those situations of, do you hang back a little bit? Unfortunately, it landed up with the car getting turned around. I mean, let's go to the helicam and just view from above. So getting a bit of assistance from Camille, goes and moves to block the inside line, late on the anchors, and just way too deep, and unfortunately got the knock on the back. And that little turnaround there is just enough to be the equivalent of kicking your pinky toe up against the side of the coffee table. It hurts like mad. You know you got time to try and take a deep breath or two, but man, oh man, at the point of time, that is not fun. Jason Farmer, however, has been gifted a position back and now is back onto the attack with Camilleson. I'm also keeping an eye on the battle of Nicholas Cora, our champion in the gold division for our season 13. That's done an incredible job here at ERA and has really turned heads last season. Still in for the fight at the moment. And he is now putting the pressure on Ernest Lumbriggs just ahead of him. And if I remember, Ernest Lumbriggs was second of the diamonds out there. Now, if we go and take a look at history, diamonds don't really play with gold. But at this time, Nicholas Cora is saying, I remember what happened last season. And I'm here to show that I am just as good as a diamond driver. So don't get comfortable.
Diamonds are made under pressure, though, and Limburg's one of the calmest drivers I have ever raced with. Nothing phases him. You can put him in a sea of cars and he'll just be the most relaxed you've ever seen him. So the pressure won't phase him. I can guarantee you that. He will be eyes forward. He'll be chasing down the two Ferraris ahead. And Correa is one of those drivers that I have sort of championed this season as being one of my most improved. He's had a fantastic season. Of course, now upgraded to platinum because of his pace results, and he will want to make a statement by overtaking Limburgs. That will be his aim. He wants to make this statement.
Well, this is going to be a big, solid statement. And while we keep an eye on there, we got David Schuton, who finished 4th in the Diamond Division for our Season 13 ERA Sunday Championship on the back of Christoph Peterson, our 5-time champion. And what you got to be asking is, Christoph going to be looking in his mirror going, where did this pace come from? How come this is now a thing? And where can I get rid of this Flying Dutchman at this point? Go back to Davy Jones' locker. Leave the logistical nightmare Nissan alone. I mean, it's the last of its kind at this moment as they've closed production of it. The last thing you want to do is go and hurt the car because panel beaters are going to tell you, well, we don't quite keep that spare left anymore.
No, they've still got another 20-ish minutes of their stint to go, so this battle is going to rain on for the next 20 minutes at least, I think. This is all playing into the hands of Dean. Dean will be very glad to see these two very close on track and battling. Of course, he'd love to be right up there with them, but the more they fight, the slower they go, and the more advantage of that Dean can take. He'll be able to see them from 4 seconds back, and this will be encouraging news for the Ferrari driver.
Oh, little bit of yellow flags coming in for Nicholas Cora and the likes of Ernest Lumbergs getting the 420 and the number 10 coming to blows with one another by the looks of it. So we're going to go back to our replay. So Nicholas was all over the back of Ernest Lumbergs. They did catch up to one of the Ferraris. I think it's one actually a back marker that they caught up to. Oh, in contact with Korea off the back of Limburg's, causing them to have a little bit of a whoopsie-daisy moment. And unfortunately, that's also put a bit of damage to their cars as well. So not ideal circumstances out there, but we are starting to see some pit stops happening, likes of Wise Racing Endurance. John Spriggs going back into the pits. He loses our position to Ivan for Wall Racing. He has been there since the start of the race. Christian Goth is now putting pressure on the likes of Heiko Dragon, who's been going and moving his way up. I've got to say, I love the surname. I mean, surname, Mr. Dragon. You know, that Mrs. Dragon, Mr. Dragon just sounds absolutely incredible. More intimidating than Kernick. That, yeah, pretty much sounds like you.
That's the thing, though. Is it the dragon out of Game of Thrones, or is it the dragon out of Shrek? And I think we'll find out in a minute or two.
I wasn't going to go down that road. I wasn't going to go down that road.
I'm not scared. Bosch, of course, had that spin at this exact moment on the circuit a couple of laps ago, so he's just trying to recover now. He lost 4 positions in that spin, so it's very much a recovery stint now for Grosh. Dragon didn't put up too much of a fight. There's no fire in that belly at the moment. He's definitely savouring the meal for another day, I reckon.
A bit of winter is coming, but oh man, we've got to talk about some of the winter that's coming from our stewards. A 30-second penalty heading on for a real jar of the track tool team, getting a big knock there. 5 seconds put to Robert Volt of the Nubs Racing. They are also on a bit of a climb. Hartman is, for the Skidmark Racing, has got 10 seconds added to his time as well, and 5 seconds added to Ruan Heineke of the Griffin Sim Racing team. We do keep an eye on our leaders, though, as Schutten and Christoph fighting. They stuck on the outside line, miserable line to try and make their way through, but definitely interesting to see both drivers able to do it, as Ivan didn't quite give them the inside line, the Optimum Racing line. They had to go on the marbles and earn that position, and still putting in a tremendous effort nonetheless. But Dino Kier going a little bit further down the order there. He's 3.4 seconds back, so he's not without having any problems. Ruan Heineke's finally gotten into the pits as well. Nicholas Cora trying to make up a little bit of run to Dragon ahead of him. They did make their way around one of our back markers out there. And I've got to say, we talk about back markers, but they're in their own race as well. I mean, Cameron Ray of Wise Racing Endurance is chasing down the likes of Ryan Essen of Triassic Enduro at the moment. He's trying to let one of the Griffin Sim Racing cars just get on by, just run away, get away from me. I'm in a fight here. But you've got so many little fights that you've got to be so careful of. I mean, Robert Volk is unlapping himself at the moment. He's in 27th position, just gotten past likes of Cameron Ray and Ryan as he looks to climb his way back up through the order. There's so many different little battles out there that you can't take away. You can always
contact Stephen. Contact with Christoph Peterson and shoot him down at the hairpin by looks of things.
Got him. I got him on screen, and let's quickly go and take a look. The 911 of the BMW going into the likes of Christoph Peterson. Dean Norkier was just in the right spot at the right time, but it also looked like a bunch of our cars lapped down, unfortunately, landing up in the mix as well. Oh, that is a bit of a nasty one. David Schulten going in, putting in a bit of rear contact, and it was just avoidance all round from the drivers to try and get themselves going. But Dean Norkier up into second place. Schulten is going to be expecting his team getting a phone call in due course, I would think.
Yeah, so there's a number of things that have got flagged us up under investigation with the stewards. That is one of them. Also further contact involving Nicholas Correa. The 30 seconds you mentioned for car 68, I went and had a look at that. That's a culmination of blue flag infringements for Aurel Jar in the number 68 Ferrari. So there's a number of times he's been coming up to getting lapped and hasn't followed the process. So he's incurred a few penalties for doing that. And we've just seen the first of our track limit drive-throughs as well, Stephen, for car 499. We haven't really touched on track limits yet. If you veer fully out of the white lines that follow you around the track, you will, in most cases, get a little track limit warning. You get 4 of those in a race, and unfortunately you have to go through the pit lane, which costs you about 30 seconds in race time. So it's definitely worth not doing that, and staying between the lines as much as you can.
Well,
So that's the first one. Adam Stewart, 499, with a drive-through.
I've got to ask a question. For people that aren't too sure, blue flag infringement? What's a blue flag infringement? I know there is a common thing that people aren't too aware of, but it is something that you got to keep in the back of your mind. Can you give us a quick rundown of how do you get a blue flag infringement?
Yeah, I mean, well, when you're coming up to being lapped, you will get a notice on your dashboard. The marshals will throw a blue flag out. That will happen when the car behind you is a second away. So you get plenty of notice that they're coming up to you. The drivers are expected to remain on the racing line and facilitate a safe overtake for the lapping car. So what does that mean? So if a car signals their intent to overtake, i.e., moves out of the racing line to go through, you basically let them have it. You don't defend. Caveat to that is obviously if you do defend, that's a blue flag infringement, or if you are unpredictable, that is also a blue flag infringement. So that might be why he's got those. I didn't see any of the incidents, so I can't say why, but that's probably what the stewards will have deemed necessary when they were reviewing it.
That's something we got to keep in the back of your mind while driving, and it also brings in why this is always an interesting thing to learn. Endurance racing a little bit different to the usual sprint racing, where generally you're all on the same lap and you're all going. Now you're in a race where you do drop a lap down, you do land up having cars overtaking you, and having to be aware of your mirrors and understanding the situational awareness of who's on where at which part of the track, especially in a difficult race like this, when you got so many cars out there to concentrate on, watching your mirrors, watching what's going on. 2 things you need to keep an eye out on: your flags and your relative, to keep you going. And that's something here at ERA that we love to teach and show drivers continuously. Guys, it's crucial to have them on, along with your radar that does allow you something in real racing you don't get to have too often. Well, I say that GT3s do have some form of radar that actually picks up where drivers are and picks up where the different cars are. Very complicated system, but it does exist. In sim racing, we have access to that being on our front HUD, whether you're in VR, whether you're on screen, single screen, triple screen, it is in dead center of you, and you can see how close you are to the other car. So once again, no need to put a lot of pressure when guys are trying to make their way through. But for faster drivers, you also can't barge your way through. You've got to be very, very patient on your move. You've got to be able to make a safe overtake by putting your nose in and just pushing a person out of the way. Well, you also get the big book thrown at you.
Yeah, definitely. Just keeping an eye on the lead battle. Shooten's got that 10-second penalty for that contact with Peterson. That's just come flashed up as concluded by the steward, so he'll have to serve that in his next pit stop, which, if you're curious, will be probably definitely within the next 15 minutes, I should imagine. 15 minutes time for David Shooten, and Ben Hicks has also got to get inside that car. Dean Notcher, he's doing well at the moment. Obviously, he was a big winner out of that, as we see Nicholas Correa go exploring the sand, and that lets Dragon back through. So that's dropped him down, unfortunately, for Correa. He's got a 15-second penalty to serve as well. And what else was I going to mention? Oh, yeah, I wanted to give a shout-out to Car 420, the Liam Nissan team. One of my favourite men on the planet is now behind the wheel of that, Mr. David Roth, our resident, gorgeously mustached American man, now doing a stint behind the wheel of the Nissan GTR, and it's great to see him out on track participating in this championship.
And David Roth is very, very familiar with the likes of endurance racing. We've seen him many times before, and one of his greatest runs and pullbacks from the brink of destruction was actually at Bathurst when it was a team up between ERA, the likes of DGSR, and uh, a couple of others, when it was a communities all joined in. David Roth was one of those competitive drivers that pulled it back from the brink, but at the same time, even when Lady Luck wasn't facing his direction and took it all on the nose, he still carried on, persevering through it, and that's the incredible stuff. That's what we love to see about the drivers, and get to talk a little bit about their histories, and that's why we do invite those drivers, those teams to come and join us in the commentary box. Give us a bit of history. Give us a bit of a little bit of a know-how on the drivers. Maybe they may be huge Fortnite fans, that they've done incredibly well in tournaments. Maybe they've sim racers that have competed at high levels. Maybe those are just beginning and they've gotten hold of their sim gear, seen everything out there, and the whole world of sim racing has come alive for them. That's what we love to see. Love to get those stories and also get to share those memorable moments. Remy Cable's going and making a good run on the back of Ivan. This is battle for 18th and 17th position. And we saw Jason Farmer has exited to the pits, so he's back out and going. But a lot of new names out on the grid. That is just incredible yet again. And we have to say, welcome to ERA, guys. Welcome to the racing. Absolutely phenomenal to have you here. We might have a little bit of salt in each other's teas and coffee sometimes, but man, oh man, you can always have a lot of fun on the way through.
Yeah, we like to think of ourselves as not just somewhere that puts on races, but a community as well. A lot of these guys spend an awful lot of time talking to each other and other words that I can't mention on a publicly available stream, but they all get along really well, and it's great to see some new faces, and hopefully stick around, get involved in the Sunday series and the other stuff we've got going on. We're in the off season at the moment, so once the next season is announced, I will be expecting to see some of these names entered and get your license and come racing with us, because it is an awful lot of fun. Both servers in the Sunday series have streaming and stewarding throughout as well.
But it doesn't stop you from participating in the fun series. I mean, there's some incredible ones that's been going out. I mean, GT2 racing not often gets used. GT4 racing, we've seen. Porsche Cup was one of them that I got invited to. Unfortunately, I was too scared. But some incredible... There was incredible racing. And also the test of LMU. You heard me right. Lamar Ultimate getting tested here at ERA to also bring a little bit more into the show. David Roth, though, making a bit of time, gets past Sean Ruby very quickly, and now looking to dart on by. But there's so much happening here at ERA, and we cannot forget the most fundamental thing that ERA has is our training here. And this is absolutely free. You get the incredible drivers out there of multiple champions. You get to have the incredible pace drivers, but you also get to get those critical moments of what to do, whether you're just starting out in sim racing or whether you're a top tier driver trying to fight your way and find that 10th of a second on the competition. There's always a bit of training out on a Thursday that you really want to be part of.
Yeah, there's always someone around to offer advice and talk you through things as well if you need help with anything. It's a really good community for newer drivers. Even if you just need some help with things like your rig, your computer, anything like that, there's a lot of skilled people in this server, and they'll always be available for advice on anything else that is applicable. Yeah, I'm just keeping an eye on lap times, stint times, all that sort of stuff. We're getting to that really well. We've just passed the halfway mark of the race, Stephen. So we're getting to that point now where strategy will start to take over. So everyone has now at least done one stop. There's a couple of teams that's done two. There's even two teams out there that have done 3 stops already, but we won't mention why. So yeah, the strategy is going to start coming out now. There's some drivers out there that are still on their original tyres. I think Farmer's just come in and changed them, but I'm sure there's another car out there that last time they stopped, they didn't change.
Jason Farmer definitely changed his tyres, but he was out on them for a long time, trying to push himself out a little bit more. Ivan has also, he's on the original set of tyres that he was on, with the 26.8, so he was only just in there for fuel to get himself done and dusted. We've only had one drive-through, which is incredible to say because we've seen drivers flirting with the track limits here. Dino here now into the pit lane. He's going to be serving his pit stop, and Camilleson will be inheriting that third place with Christoph Peterson in second, and Christian Goff looking to take that fourth place away as he continues on the drive. The double A racing and going and trying to make up some time as well, utilizing the slipstream a little bit more and pushing on. But for everyone out there, the fantastic welcome to you all, and also to all 155 people that have tuned in thus far to the ERA. A big welcome to you guys. Absolutely fantastic to have you. Oh, we do have an Aston Martin that is just blown by the numbers, much like myself, has ventured off into the dirt after hearing about it, and I think he's just recycled himself out there, and that's Gerard van der Venter, part of the SimStuff Carbon AMR, who moved over from console racing to the likes of PC sim racing, and ever since then been working on improving racing in the likes of Sarco, which is one of the leagues here in South Africa. But instantly having Christian Goff going and saying, listen buddy, I'm getting past you, we're going, goodbye, cheerio, follow me later, we're gonna talk to each other for the training sessions a little bit further on. But Dragon has been on a serious pace, also running 145.1 on that last lap, been hovering in the 45s dead at the moment, trying to move his way through. So there has been some proper gains, some proper losses, and some blood, sweat and tears put into this race thus far.
Yeah, really quick pace there by the 181 Ferrari team of Dragon. Of course, Rodo was in that car originally. Handed over to the Game of Thrones man himself, who's now is about 5 minutes away from having to do a pit stop, so he might do a few more laps yet. A lot of these drivers have been out there for about 43, 45 minutes. And the stint timer is 50, so they've got to come into the pits within the next 5 minutes for most of the field. So we'll yet again see a little bit of a shake-up, and the strategy will dictate whether they do a short stop now, they change tyres, how much fuel they take on. So we'll see yet again how the pit wall have been operating, which to me is always a little bit of a mystery. It's never something I can wrap my head around. I'm definitely never going to be a strategist. I always have to just make it up as I go along. But yeah, really interesting race unfolding before our eyes at the moment, and anything can happen, as you have seen.
Well, you know what? Am I allowed to have a little bit of a flex right now? Because this is where I get a bit interested. Because medically, this is where it gets fun. So take our 3-hour driver, Dean Norkier, as an example to use. Dean Norkier's been in the car officially for 1 hour and 35 minutes and 20 seconds. He has got a small direct drive, so nothing too hectic that he's dealing with. Just 5 Newton meters maximum peak torque. In other words, you've got something moving around, fighting. Your arms are having to really do everything they can to hold on. You've got load cell pedals, which, depending on how many kilograms, is rather stiff, and you're using your left leg. So, as a fun fact for those at home, take a 2-liter bottle of soda or water, and I want you to hold that 2-liter and keep your arm dead straight in the air and hold it. You'll feel over the course of the period of time, starting with about 5 minutes, you'll feel the muscles getting a little bit tired. After 10 minutes, you'll start to feel cramping in the bicep, and you will then start to move on to with lactic acid becomes a affecting manner. It starts to cramp those muscles. Your muscles are now trying to feed on itself, keeping some nutrients and energy to keep itself going. It's taking that strain, and you will start to feel in your legs, your calves, your biceps. You'll feel in your wrists as they've been taking the beating. Your fingers start to get those little bit of cramps. So if you're not straightening your fingers out and just opening and closing your hands, they're going to feel like they're absolutely glued to that steering wheel, and your knuckles are going to feel it. Then you got the mental aspect that comes in, concentrating on the screen, and depending on what screens you've got, it could be at 60 hertz, 120 hertz, whatever it may be, going and flashing lights at you, and your brain is having to take in all this information and process split seconds of every single moment of that's going around. That's wear and tear on the brain. It starts to mentally drain you. You start getting sucked into a void, and if you don't have that talking coming back at you. It's so hard to keep your brain engaged. You've also got your eyes starting to dry out as you constantly fixated on the screens. It is just a mental game, a physical game, and lots of people think that sim racing is just you sitting in a deck chair and your aces bases. This is where the physical aspect comes out. This is where it gets so downplayed to, oh, well, real racing, you feel G-forces. Bang on, yes, you do. But everything else that you get to feel, well, you get to double it here. Your sensation of what's going on around you, you're having to pick up through mostly your hands and your eyes of what the car's doing. No motion rigs are going and giving you all the exact stuff. You do have little haptic feedbacks and that can give you a hand and give you a little bit of a go. But once you spend this amount of time in the car, you're in for a bit of trouble. Once again, hold that 2-liter water. I dare you. And if you can hold it outstretched for an hour with your arm not bending back towards your chest, and you are holding that in the exact same place that you had it without it touching anything and without resting your arm, well, you got the stamina to do a 6-hour. Bang. There we go. My little stretch. I'm happy about that. I finally get to use it. Woohoo!
and of course, a bladder that can take it as well.
Oh yes.
That's the main thing for me. I think is the bladder. Just in the background, by the way. Stop go 30 for car number 37. One of the big early winners of the race that was. I think he qualified 30th or something like that, and he was running in 10th at one point. Having a really, really strong race for Mare, I don't know how you pronounce it, but he's just got himself a stop-go 30 for speeding in the pit lane. So that will be a massive dent to his race.
Mr. Plod was sitting there. We do know about the precinct that's coming to ERA, but they're already setting up those speed cameras. Man, oh man. I'm going to have a chat to David Schutten on the way through, because David Schutten's into the pits, Camille's into the pits, Christoph Peterson's into the pits, Christian Goth is into the pits, and also Yanis Maria pulling into the pits as well. So a couple of drivers getting themselves sorted, but we're also starting to see a little bit of pressure being put on. The Reptile Racing, slowly but surely, making up a little bit of a climb. Now onto the back of Jason Farmer. Dean Ilkia just a little bit up the road from them. About 16 seconds up the road. He's looking to try and capitalize. We're going to see a driver change, but is he close enough to capitalize on everyone in the pit? So he's coming by down the main straight. We do see Camille's moving, and we do see Christoph Peterson's moving. He managed to break away, but not by too much, though.
So Camille hasn't taken tyres, by the looks of things.
No, he was
just
22.
Fuel for the Aston Martin. Whereas David, Christoph, and Dean, I would hazard a guess, have all taken fresh tyres for this next stint.
Interesting time. Dean Nokia, 35 seconds in the box, but it has been out for a little bit on a while. Darius now in the car. First time he's been in the car, and had to wait an hour and 40 minutes before climbing into the car. That must be frustrating of note. You're sitting there going, come on, give me a shot. Let me have a shot. Coach, I'm just ready to get off the bench here. And now you're on the track and you got to figure it out. But another driver jumping in.
He won't mind. He won't mind.
There we go. The Flying Dutchman. Change of drivers. Ben Hicks behind the wheel, as we do see a drive-through for Gerard Pretorius. And also, Maria, a little bit further down, Cedric Murr going and getting the drive-through. So does Gerard Pretorius for abusing track limit. Oh my heavens. We are bringing out the rulers, folks. But I do want to add, if your teammate was ever so kind to you and left you with one warning left, well, means you can't get it wrong, because the stewards are going to come down on you with a drive-through penalty. And that's where you had to trust your teammates to get it right. Because the moment you climb into the car and get told, you got one warning left, abuse that track limit, you're going to get the drive-through. Doesn't matter what they did. You got the drive-through. It's your fault. That's always in a team.
Yeah, and that happens more often than you think as well. You know, you'll be sat there spotting for your teammate, and you'll see the track limit infringements come up, and you'll almost think to yourself, "Oh, that's that." You know, I've got to drive with caution now, and I can't step out of track limits once, and that does play a part in it. So we obviously don't know how many limits are on. We don't get that information. That's team specific only, because it's classed as strategy specific. So we don't get that. But maybe I would hazard a guess most drivers out there are at least on one track limit warning by now, with some racking them up at a bit of a rate of knots as well.
When the big wooden spoon comes out, that's a problem. Chris Heineke having a look and see if he can get past Remy. Remy trying to get past Martin Spritzer, who's in the car now, and Martin out for a good drive in Lamborghini, something he's very familiar with and has done rather well in for the Lambo Manix and part of the Track Tools team. And currently Martin's on a great drive to move himself up through the order. Let's take a look back at last season. He was the winner of our Platinum Division, and it came down to the final race to get it done and dusted ahead of Tomo Milani. So, I mean, this is just absolutely incredible. He's now getting his taste of being out there and racing. Ulrich Diaga getting the pass on the likes of, that looks to be Nikita that's behind. So Nikita with a bit of damage, and it looks like that BMW is living up to the name. Wall Racing. It looked like it's taken a few shots at the wall.
Yeah, I think it has visited the outskirts of this track and gone and inspected some of the track furniture on the outside, but they're still racing, and I guess that's all that really matters. Just on board, I've been riding on board with Darius for a little bit, just to see how he's adapting to being behind Camille. He'll be eager to get this pass done quickly. We know he's got the pace to unlock more speed out of that Nissan, but Camille's not making it easy, and that Aston Martin, even on used tyres, is picking up out of corners really strongly.
It's incredible to see, and these are two cars that were formidable foes. If you go back to the early stages of Assetto Corsa Competizione, you were either in the Nissan, the Bentley, or the Aston Martin as your main go-to cars. The super quick cars were like the Porsche, the 991, which was incredible, but you were also playing with fire. If you wanted quick and reliable, these were the cars to go for, and oh, so close. Darius under braking right against the rear wheel arch of Camille, who is on an absolute charge. Remember, Camille has not handed over. He has been in the car from the start and is running second place in this race, and second of those in solo. And he has got Darius completely fresh coming at him. Dean Orkia is now climbing up the road 7.7 seconds away.
Yeah, and of course he's not really got anything to battle against. This little battle that Camille and Darius are having is slowing them down, and then you've got Hicks a couple of seconds back, just on a 44.3, which was a full second faster than Darius and Camille managed. So Darius will be eager to get this path done quickly.
And that's 44.310. Actually is the fastest lap time of this race, because the fastest that we did have was a 1:44.356. That was the quickest time, and that's now been taken away. Remember, this is legal times. This is no track limits being used and no warnings being taken out of it. But gotta point out, Darius got an advantage here. Camille going trapped behind one of our Wise Racing BMWs, and now Darius, a new lease on life, looking to quickly chase down Ben Hicks, though, getting a little bit fouled up, but the Dutchman Racing is still doing everything they can, haunting the dreams of these two front engines ahead of him. Oh, all three of them visiting the excursions and kicking up some of the dust there, moving the kitty litter across to the other side of the track. But, man oh man, this is a throwdown that's currently happening. And a little bit further back, Christian Goth and Jason Farmer having a go. Remy and Chris Heineke are having a go at one another. So it's turning into these little fights starting to break out across the circuit. You're going to have to pick your favorite car, pick your favorite driver, because what we're about to see, folks, is something that can't be replicated. This is going to be drivers. Huge send for Jason Farmer, who gets the pass done on Christian God. And Christian having to slam on the anchors as hard as he could to try and keep that just out of each other's doors. I mean, that is just absolutely insane. But once again, the drivers trusting each other to make the moves stick. And that is one thing you cannot go and take away from the drivers out there, is the trust of, you're going to make it stick. I know you're going to go for that pass, and you're going to do everything you can to make sure it's safe. It's not often you get to do that. I mean, sitting in imagine being able to sit in traffic and you look at that taxi that's coming past you, that Uber that's coming past you, and you're thinking, or that person that's in the VW Polo, and you're busy going, I don't know, hey, you're going to skip the robot here, you're going to jump the stop street. Imagine being able to trust that person to just not do that.
Just looking at a penalty that's been issued in the background. Robert Volt, the 435, has had a penalty for ignoring the stint time. It shows on my side that he's been in the car for 52 minutes. So, yeah, he's gone over the stint time by the looks of things. So I don't know if there's an issue there. We've not seen Lucasen in the car yet. So I wonder if there's an issue with the drivers. Be interesting to see if there is a problem there, because we know Lucasen is rapid fast.
Sebastian Lucasen was part of the main top runners as was out there, and we'll keep an eye on that to try and find out. But Volt is definitely going to be feeling it. The drive-through penalty is going to take a lot of punch out of him. He's been in just trying to keep it all together, but I'm not seeing anything for Sebastian Lucasen bringing up and talking, though. So we'll have to keep an eye on that. But I think you're right. I don't think that's one that wanted to have happen, much like Darius didn't want Ben Hicks all over the back of him while chasing down Camille. Now, this has opened up for Dean Nokia, but second, third, and fourth, all within 0.4 of a second of one another. And this is an opportunity to score big, to go big in a huge fight here for Camille. It's a solo drive to hold second place for the likes of Darius and Ben Hicks, who are looking to score valuable points for this championship for the debut round. They want to ensure that they can lock down the most amount of points possible and also be close enough that if Dean Nokia makes a mistake, they can swoop on by. 61 laps completed of this race around the beautiful track of Barcelona.
Yeah, we've actually had an update on the 435. As we see Hicks go for the move on Darius, goes down the inside at the hairpin. Darius kind of forced wide. Hicks through. And yeah, Darius didn't really have an answer for that, unfortunately. What I was going to say is the 435 Aston Martin disqualified now for ignoring the stint timer. So there's definitely an issue there. I just don't know what it is. If I get an update, I'll let you know.
There we go. So unfortunately, we've seen the stop go 30-second penalty. We've seen the drive-through. And unfortunately, stint timer is a thing. The disqualification coming through. And once you get that DSQ popping up, that is it. There is done. You can't go and say, hey, sorry, look, I'm bad about that. You know, please put me back in, coach. You're done. You climb out of your car. You get out of your overalls. You take the boots off. You go and grab something to drink. Calm down. And enjoy the racing, supporting everyone out there. I mean, that is all that you can do. Doing it is ultimately very frustrating, but it does happen. And for those who think, oh, well, how can you miss out your stint timer? When you're in a race that's as busy as this and you are so focused on keeping your rhythm, it is so easy to miss the clock. And once you miss the clock, where you're a couple of minutes over, you will get it seriously impacted. Ben X, though, is getting a serious impact against Camille as he tries to knock on the door, trying to get on by. And Darius is just looming in the wings at this point, hoping for Ben to just go and open up that door quite a bit. And Camille, I've got to take my hat off. There's been a driver that's usually we've seen him fight out in the sprint racing, but tends to taper off towards the mid-grid, is really showing off some proper endurance here by being in the car for 1 hour and 52 minutes and still have enough in the tank to hold second place.
Yeah, and of course he didn't change tyres on his last stop as well. So he, out of all this battling pack, he's got the oldest tyres of the lot. So he will be the cork in the bottle at the moment. And we have another car flagging up as disqualified for stint time. A car 37 has been disqualified. And that was one of the high running cars as well that's been disqualified for stint time infringement.
37
I have just popped a message. I have just popped a message to the one of the guys behind the scenes, see if we can figure out what's going on. It is understood that there might have been an issue for those teams. I don't really know what yet. We obviously have to speak to the drivers involved.
Yannis Marais, that was the one car we were keeping a very close eye on that actually was doing well at the start of the race and tapered off to the mid-grid. Unfortunately, out of this race. And, well, we always talk about commentators' curse. It is a real thing. We unfortunately got to see the worst of it there. Ben Hicks, though, having a great avoidance to narrowly miss the boot of the Aston Martin as he closes down at a rate of 9. I mean, this is a good show of what the BMW has become, as it's the new reliable car that you can go at versus old reliable of the Aston Martin as they fight it out. And so far, trying to look around the outside, late on the anchors, trying to throw the car in. Is he going to make it stick? Not so quite. Emil just leaning on him enough at the moment to keep that going. Another little fight happening is the likes of Hinako Dragon going and having a go at Christian Goth. Looked on the inside, hit the brakes there, couldn't quite make the pass, and will wait it out. Now, you said whether this is the dragon from Shrek or the dragon from Game of Thrones. Well, what we've got here is the magic dragon that is just tooting on by the whole way through.
Yeah, he's having a great race so far. So certainly breathing fire amongst the competition at the moment for the 181 Ferrari. He's really closing up on the back of Grosh, and I don't know if it was these two that had a little bit of a coming together a number of laps ago, but hopefully history won't repeat itself. The amount of time we've had gone through, we're almost at the 2 hour mark, and we've still got an awful lot of battling happening here, and sort of mind games almost kicking in, especially when you're looking at that second, third, fourth battle, which is just holding my attention hostage at the moment. The job that Camille is doing, being the cork in the bottle in front of the BMW and the Nissan. Darius almost waiting for a mistake from the cars ahead and not overdriving his car. He's quite a wily old fox, Darius. He's sometimes underestimated, but he will sometimes just hang back on purpose to reserve his tyres, probably save a little bit of fuel and let the cars ahead battle it out, and not overdrive his car. And I think that's what's happening here.
Oh, as we do see Ben Hicks, very, very close to the Aston Martin. I think the lightest of contact between the two. And unfortunately, that landed up with Darius having to hit the anchors as he got caught up by Camille there. Not ideal circumstances. Now Ben Hicks has got himself going. He's picked him the right battle. Darius trying to slide on by. Late on the anchors, side by side they go. And slight contact door to door and in through the final corner. Camille, a tremendous fight, but unfortunately just put into the wrong line. I do want to point out, however, we always talk about endurance race and, well, you're not quite sure what is going to happen. You're not quite sure what will be the game plan at the end of the race. How far are you going to go? If you run into an issue, is it worth carrying on? One driver that did carry on, that got sent out of it, is Mickey Taylor, who will be gaining 2 more positions as 2 drivers are disqualified. So Mickey Taylor, from not sure whether that car can even race, is managing to get the car out, first solo enduro, and is first time having a proper go here at ERA, putting in a great effort by the no quit, keep going. Now you're scoring positions. Now you're moving up through the order and will be officially in 27th position, starting out all the way down in 31st.
He started in the pit lane, don't forget, and this will be really good track time for him if it is his first solo enduro or he's running this championship solo. Just that time in the seat, the familiarity with the car, the feeling of how the car behaves, especially the Mustang, which does chew through its tyres, which is why it's not a popular enduro car choice, because it does chew its tyres up. It's a really good car. It just doesn't. It's not well suited to these sort of events. His familiarity with how the car behaves under certain conditions will pay off in the long run. So that's why it's good to see him back out. And just coming back to that little overtake between Darius and Camille, it demonstrated the wiseness of car positioning from Darius. He just knew that if he put his car in a certain position, Camille just couldn't do anything. There's a Nissan in the way, you can't move. So that was really good racecraft there by Darius. And I'm just now watching Martin Spitzer, another driver that I admire deeply, someone that I've driven against more often than I'd care to admit. And he is up against David Roth now. So two very different cars with two very different principles. The Lamborghini in a straight line is absolutely woeful. So if this overtake's going to happen, Martin will have to be very clever about where and how he does it, because David Roth will just be able to vanish in a straight line.
Now we're starting to see that just as they come out of the final corner, absolutely putting the hammer down and really starting to stretch the gap. I mean, it's nearly 1.1 seconds, 1.3 when they come up into turn 1, and Martin having to really go on the anchors. So he's only got the advantage up towards the top of the circuit through these fast sweeps. Unfortunately, not able to keep up with the Nissan. But if he can brake a little bit later, if he can get that nose hooked in and hooked underneath, he's up for a go. I mean, this is incredible stuff. And two drivers that are very, very wise when it comes to enduro racing, and especially against one another. This is going to be a bit of a wild one, but Martin's got himself close enough. He looked to try and get the pass done and dusted, forced David Roth into a bit of a mistake. David's able to bring the car back, holding that apex, and will continue on to defend against Mons Ritter, who is just chomping at the bit, knowing he needs to get this done and dusted through the Titan Twisties to get into the likes of the top 10. David Roth, on the other hand, is in that top 10. He's wanting to hold it for the team. The Liam Neesons have been in a little bit of a difficult race throughout this enduro, and so is the Track Tool team. Now they're going into a fight of the last of the top 10. I mean, that's where you want to be. You want to say you got that top 10. You want to keep going, especially with now we're officially under the hour mark here at ERA for round 1 of the Evolution Racing Academy Endurance Championship. Season 1, round 1, honors on to go and get on there. And I've got to say, oh man, how it makes me want to be out on the track. But at the same time, looking at these incredible drivers who are really putting in the effort, I'm just so glad I'm here in the commentary box as well. I'm torn, Chris. I am torn to be out there experiencing it and to be up here experiencing from a view.
Yeah, it's nice to drive, but it's also quite nice to sit here in air conditioning with biscuits and a nice drink as well, and just just be a voice. Really, it's sometimes quite a nice thing to do. But yeah, I'm like you. Watching this just makes me want to be in the car, and I'm doing my own events outside of this, and this is purely from a staff perspective for me. But I'm like you. I really want to be in that car now.
Incredible stuff. So let's see how it's all going to work out and see how the drivers are going to come through during the course of this race. Oh, drive through for Nicholas Cora, though, is definitely not going to help out their team, the Everest Racing team, going to be kicking themselves in the backside. Final hour, and they having to serve a drive-through. I mean, this is just wow. I don't know. That's just a heartbreak moment for the likes of Nicholas for the drive-through. Track limits exceeded into the pit lane, and being a solo driver, I mean, that is just a kick in the teeth.
Yeah, he's had a really good run so far. But that's racing. Unfortunately, you get these drive-throughs will happen. That's what I mentioned quite early on, actually, that one of the secrets, I guess, to endurance racing is not driving at 100% because that's how mistakes come in and that's how drive-throughs happen. Yeah, maybe it's a fatigue thing that you mentioned on about holding the bottle of Coke a minute ago. Maybe that was part of the play because after a while, your mind isn't fully. It's hard to focus for 3 hours. You just can't really do it. Imagine you at work. How often do you just switch off at work? And these guys are trying to navigate through lap traffic now. They're trying to just get on terms with the lap times they want to set. And of course, they don't necessarily have teammates out there spotting for them, setting up the strategy, anything like that. You've got to do it all yourself. It's harder than you think to be a solo endurance driver. And I think I agree with your earlier point that probably did have a part to play.
Yeah, definitely a tough one. I don't think in my field, if turning off means that there's a horrible sound, and well, much like what's left of Kenny the Cone over there, that it just Martin going and wiping out Kenny the Cone in spectacular fashion, has gone and lost out of position to Remy, who, well, I'm rather impressed. Remy has been on a gentle climb on the way through. Chris Heineke starting to make some time back as well, is now onto the back of him on his little climb through. So we're starting to see the endurance aspect coming in, especially down to this point. It's one of the other issues that come into the world of endurance racing that you've got to be very, very careful of, is the moment you tap off from the gas. Think about this. You driving home after a busy day's work, that 9 to 5 job that you've been in, or that, you climbing out of bed at 6 o'clock, getting to work at 7, you doing your shift, or you doing your hours. You've gone through a hard day. It's been incredibly hot. You had to sit through paperwork, and it just drives you insane and around the twist. But then you go and drive home. You sit through the traffic. It's been there for an hour. And now you're 2 kilometers away from home. You can smell just the comfort of your home there. But that's generally when things go wrong. Your brain switches off. You suddenly start thinking about, man, I'm this close to the end. And by that time, you switched off from all that's going on around you, and big mistakes start to kick in. So that fatigue aspect comes in. And something that, well, the sim racers are experiencing in these 3 hours, that they do actually pick up in their daily lives as well, even at school. Think about when you're spending time at school. And Chris, I don't know about you. I had a very, very difficult time at school trying to concentrate and sit through some of the teachers. Like, why do I want to find your ex the whole time? Move on, there's Tinder. But...
Yeah, why does Timothy have 18 bottles of washing up liquid? Like,
Exactly.
Who would have that? Yeah, I'm the same. Like, even in the Sunday series, Stephen, that's an hour. That, I think for me, I have to almost play little games with myself to keep myself focused, or my brain wanders. So yeah, I think if you solo, I've got massive respect for people who solo drive, and I remember when I was back before my LNR days, I drove for a team called Team Abbey Racing. We did a 24 hours of Kyalami, and there was one guy who did the whole 24 hours solo. And they interviewed him after the race, and he was a blubbering wreck. He could hardly talk. So, I know 3 hours doesn't sound like a lot of time, but it is. It's plenty. And doing that on your own, you're gonna be feeling it afterwards.
Definitely not one to go and have a tough time out there. But Adam Stewart having a good run with Andy Pollard, down in 17th and 18th position. These two have been on each other's backsides for the last little while. I see we've got Weinman who's got a stop-go 32nd. Big change, though, is Ben Hicks with a 5-second penalty added to his time. So that's going to drop him just under Darius at the moment. So not ideal circumstances for Ben Hicks, considering he was on that very, very aggressive climb up through the order. Well, unfortunately, the big wooden spoon does come out every so often just to remind you and bring you back to a sense of, well, mind your P's and Q's and cross your T's and I's, and you need to ensure that you always say please and thank you.
Yeah, there's also another penalty coming for Camille Hassan in the Aston Martin. He's had 5 seconds. Both him and Ben Hicks were sort of failure to leave racing room, pushing other cars off track. So quite small penalties. 5 seconds isn't huge, but it's you definitely don't want it, especially when we've seen that these drivers can contest in very close combat racing. That 5 seconds will be a dent that he'll have to serve in his next pit stop. Of course, we should all have one more pit stop to go, and then it's a run to the end for most of these drivers. And speaking of that, we've got Martin Spitzer, after his demolition of all the track polystyrene, now coming back onto terms with the 930 BMW. So he'll want to try and get back on the back of David Roth like he was a few laps ago. So watch out for Martin Spitzer trying to get past the BMW in the next lap or two.
Oh, absolutely great stuff. And if you're just joining us here at ERA, welcome to round 1 of the Endurance Championship, our first ever Endurance Championship here at ERA. The planning since 2024 to get to where we are now in 2025 has been immense, and we're glad to be sharing it all with you out here on the track at the beautiful Barcelona. You're hearing the gorgeous voice of Chris Wall, who's giving a great technical insight, and the blabbering idiot that's busy talking right now is myself, Stephen. But to you guys, big welcome. Thank you for joining us. And wow, the racing has been huge and big developments going on. Dean Nokia, solo driver, currently leading out the pack. Ben Hicks in second place. Darius running in third. Camille Hassan running in fourth. Jason Farmer, solo driver, like Camille Hassan, is running out in fifth. Christian Goth. Then we got the Team Reptile that are running in 7th place, right behind the Los Pontos Hermanos team. We also got the Griffin Sim Racing team out there giving it everything they got. The Liam Nissans. And once again, if you guys haven't seen the car, a quick shot of it. It's got skills that are meant to be here, sitting in the top 10. And it's got David Roth behind the wheel. I mean, you couldn't get any more exciting than that. Gorgeous, gorgeous moustache setup with Liam Neeson powering it. I mean, that Nissan is not running on Nismo. It's running on Neeson.
Yeah, he's struggling a little bit at the moment. Sorry, just in the background, just looking at some stewarding stuff and seeing if I can get any insights into anything, because we've had another drive-through for stint timers, which was for Adam Stewart. He's currently serving that drive-through. But I don't know if there's an issue somewhere with maybe teams' visibility of where these, because of course it's just a graphic that comes up on your live timer. So whether you've actually got that enabled and maybe you're missing it out, I don't know. But we've had 3 drivers now that have fallen cropper of the stint timer issue. So I'll be interested in finding out why that's happened. Obviously, that'll be something we'll have to investigate after the race. But yeah, there's a couple of drivers falling foul of that.
I know with VR, and it's going to sound weird because I've been very fortunate to drive ACC in VR. Barrett, my PC nearly exploded and then mortally wounded my neighbors. But as we see Jason Farmer on Camille's son rubbing doors, just as we were talking about it, where that stint timer actually sits and your pit menu sits, if you're in VR, you have to look at your door, and I'm not meaning the window, physically the door, to see where that menu is. It's a bit on the offside. Whoa, Camille Hassan and Jason Farmer just had to avoid what looked to be a Adam Stewart out of nowhere going and catching him off guard. I'm quickly going to go back, and I do want to see from Camille's view. Okay, so they're catching up to Adam on the way through. Adam lost it further up. And this is where Jason Farmer went one way, Camille went the other way. So BMW's already lost it. Camille tried to look for the inside, quick change to the left, took that dive. Jason Farmer gets a run on the right side without too much of a problem there. But definitely some quick wit needed to get past the Wise Racing. And as he serves his 5-second pit stop, last of the pit stops coming in, last of the pit strategies coming in. But yeah, from VR, you got to look at the door. For some odd reason, it is the most infuriating thing in the world, because the last thing I want to do is check my shoelaces on the way of trying to figure out where my pit stop is.
Yeah, some of these guys might be racing in VR. Of course, we don't really know unless we have an insight into their rig specifically as to what equipment they're using. Yeah, we're just thinking about the pit stop. So looking at the race time, we've got 47 minutes to go. A lot of these drivers have been on these tyres, or maybe they've ran the same tyres over. So we will probably start to see some pit stops soon, because this is about 45 minutes. It's about the golden time, really, for a set of tyres. After 45 minutes, you do see a drop-off, depending on your driving style. So I'd be very much surprised if we don't start seeing pit stops within the next sort of 5 minutes for some guys to, basically just to get those new sets of tyres that they've been nursing in the back of the garage and keeping them under lock and key. For the last stint of the race, so we'll start to see the race start to unfold now as this starts to happen.
I'm going to actually test your mindset here. You know, Chris, you are from the real world racing. You've also got a lot of experience in sim racing. Do you know that there is a tyre rule that prevents teams on storing tyres in particular areas?
Vaguely aware of that, yeah.
Okay. What do you think is that rule against? And this goes towards sports car racing, top tier single seater racing, and most prominently, go-karting.
Interference and tyre pressures would be my guess.
Okay. Not quite.
Okay.
It prevents you from storing your tires outside in the sun.
Oh, right, okay.
So there has
to get that extra heat.
Yes. So if you can't use tire warmers, what next do you use? The concrete and the sun. The sun heats up the rim holds a lot of heat in it, that bleeds off into the carcass of the tire. You would be surprised what magnesium rims, aluminium rims, steel rims, all of those retain so much heat if you just leave them in the sun for long enough. And teams in GT3 racing, back in WEC, when they still ran the GTEs, BMW actually landed up with a big trouble that one. They got fined on it because they weren't to use tire warmers. They just took away the tire warmers for one of the rounds. So BMW left their tires outside in the back of the pit. And the excuse was, no, there's no space. There's too many toolboxes and that, so we chucked them off in the back there. Don't worry about them. Meanwhile, back on the farmyard, they got 10 degrees more temperature than every other car out on the track.
Interesting. See, if I was a clever pit crew, I'd have a very complex series of mirrors reflecting sunlight onto my special tyre storage area. Well, that's just me trying to think of a way around the rules. Yep, I can't put them out in the sun, but there's nothing saying I can't do my makeup in this mirror that's specifically angled at 82 degrees outside. You know, it's just there just for the pit girls to do the makeup in, you know. It's nothing to do with tyres at all. It just so happens to be reflecting in that general direction.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you think about it, you can go in, if you have this like Ford Transit van that's just got no aircon, it's left in the sun, and you've got space in the back, lob it in the back of the vehicle. There we go, guys. It's just lock-up storage. Meanwhile, back on the farmyard, that thing's getting a bit of heat to it, and it works rather well. So, you know, think about this. Every time you climb in your car after it's been in the sunlight and you're cooking your hands on that beautiful pleather seat that looked fantastic at the time of purchase, and then you realize that it definitely is going to burn your buns. Well, that may be the saving grace of saving a bit of fuel. Another little fun fact about GT3 racing, for those out there, is the difference in cars. So GT3 racing was to replace GT1 and GT2 as the more affordable racing. That being said, there was also the rule of how the cars are meant to look. So you'll notice the Ferrari devoid of a rear view mirror out on the front, where Michael Castro in the BMW that's chasing has got this 7-inch rear view mirror. The reason why is because the Ferrari doesn't come out in the production cars with a mirror. It has an in-car camera, not a physical mirror that you can move. The BMW, however, does. That means they have to have that in the car. That also became a trick for a lot of the manufacturers because they have to release a certain amount of actual cars to allow the GT counterpart to be able to race. Otherwise, you're going to have lots of one-offs. It's a reason why we are missing a good couple of cars that you would see in the British touring car racing and British supercar racing that you generally see roughly with the Silverstone 24-hour Brit car. You'll see a couple of good manufacturers there that aren't really having an option to race in SRO and such. Reason is there's not enough of those cars. But if you want to get around the weight limit, which there is a minimum weight to each GT3, manufacturers started including gubbins like, well, having the mirror there. Others started having odd wiring harnesses around just to pick up odd temperature. And that landed up just getting them onto the weight limit. Michael Castro, on the other hand, utilizing the weight of the BMW, stopping dead on the nose and runs the Raptor races out a little bit wide. So this is going to be an interesting run. Yeah, Rodal's having a good go at him and, man, managing to hold his position. But just another useless fun fact about the world of racing. If you want to talk about how you push the boundaries and how manufacturers bent boundaries, that's it. Go back to DTM racing. Manufacturers weren't very happy about their cars being used in Group N here in South Africa. So racing teams used to buy the cars and they would also have people in the factories working on the cars and landed up just going and bleeding the brakes on a personal note. That creates a bit of rust on the block, gets chucked off the manufacturer line, a little bit of a sand down. You got a brand new block ready to go racing the next day.
I love all these stories of ingenuity from real life racing. That there was so many. Like, do you remember the one about, was it? I think it was Lancia that couldn't produce enough cars for the homologation, so they just moved them to a different car park while they took the inspectors out to dinner or something like that. You know, just so they could meet the requirement. And NASCAR putting in cardboard restrictors in the intakes to make it pass the visual inspection, but they'd just blow out of the exhaust the second they do it. Or I think it was Ford that fitted a fuel tank full of water to meet a weight limit and all sorts of weird stuff. Just absolute brilliant engineering. Of course, we don't have that option in sim racing, but you know, it's great to see the stories of how we ended up here. And you know, you make a real interesting point about these cars having to be homologated. These are cars that you'd see on the road, maybe in, you know, some more than others. You probably see more BMW M4s than you would Ferrari 296s, but ultimately these are cars that you can go out and buy with your own money. And to make a racing variant of them isn't all that difficult. So it's great to see that with all that we can have a BMW M4 on par with a Nissan GTR, a Lamborghini and an Aston Martin, and all be able to set roughly the same lap time.
Well, if you want to talk about the sim racing variant, the easy one is the BMW. Guys, look at the steering wheel. What does it say on the top of it? If you look at the steering wheel right now, you'll see on the top of the steering wheel there is a prominent sim racing brand that makes the steering wheel that you can go and purchase for your sim rig and be able to race it on your sim and plug it into these race cars and go racing. It also became making it a bit cheaper. And that's how BMW also went and took a little bit. Sim racing has bled into the real world motorsport by so much of incorporating drivers from sim racing to real world motorsport. At the same time, a lot of what we know in sim, radar systems to analyze and check where people are, getting put into real cars and thinking, that's actually a darn good idea. It came from sim racing, out on Gran Turismo, out of all things.
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple now that incorporate little arrows that tell you where cars are, whether they've got a delta on you or not, and whether they're going to be a threat into the next corner. You talked about real life and sim racing crossover. Of course, James Baldwin, world's fastest gamer, competes in ACC LFM Pro Series. He does real life racing for Garage 59 McLaren. Recently been seen testing with BMW as well, so we're basically moving over to BMW. Jan Mardenborough is a graduate of the GT Academy. He raced the Nissan for a while. He's recently been competing in British GT in a McLaren, and there's a couple of other different options as well that are out there for sim racers that have turned to real life racing. A lot of real life racers also race in the sim as well. So we are part of a very big real life racing thing, and a lot of teams as well, like these sim racing teams. A lot of them have been partnered with actual brands and actual teams as well.
Well, that's it. And talking about some of the bleeding throughs that are happening, Dino Kier served his pit stop. Final one, 17.1. So that is literally splash and dash and going. Darius, on the other hand, has not pitted. He's done his drive-through. So they have done equivalent 3 stops for both of them. They're hoping to get this car to the end. And it's 6 seconds away from our lead. Ben Hicks managed to leave pit lane, but that has brought him a lot closer to Martin Spritzer, who is now 9 seconds off the back of him. Jason Farmer trying to get some time. He's got Camilo Sun going and running a little bit ahead of him. You've got Michael Castro, who's managed to break away from Pascal Radol, along with Ruin Heineke has made up some time. And Jason Farmer's got a 5 seconds penalty that he needs to serve, so he's got to clear a good bit of gap to the rest of the drivers. Wayne Ferreira down in 10th position with Chris Heineke of the SICK Racing team. They're running in 11th. Liam Neeson is running in 12th, along with the VMV BMW. They are running in 13th. Nebula Esports, we saw them having a little bit of a problem. Great recovery on their side. They're up to 14th position. The Everest Racing team, Nicholas Cora, going and giving everything he's got. He's got 10 seconds penalty on top of him. Griffin Sim Racing, Gerald Pretorius, along with the ERA Race Gang. They still out there. Fantastic C in 17th position. We've also got Skidmark Racing, been through the wars, but they are running in 18th position. 19th, Griffin Sim Racing in 3. They are in the 19th position. Track Tool Team in 20th. John Springs of Wise Racing Endurance getting chased down by their sister team, Wise Racing Endurance, with Brandon Harvey behind the wheel. Nikita Monakov is of Wall Racing in 23rd. We got the Triesco Enduro. They're running in 24th. We've got the AA Driving School in 25th. And, well, they're doing rather well for an AA Driving School. We've got the SimStuff Carbon AMR. They're running in 26th position. Then we have got Yanis Murray, who served the drive-through a little bit earlier. The Prathram Paja Enduro 2025. Trying to make up some time. And running in 28th position, didn't think he would be around, Mickey Taylor of Taylor Motorsport, still going on. Started with 31 cars, 28 are going, and I gotta say, that is already a big one, because generally we see a lot of taper off during the course of an endurance race. All these teams are showing the grit to try and stick it in throughout the race. I mean, if you think about it, 28 teams, 2 of them we know were disqualified due to a various issue, and 1 not making it to the line. It makes us our 31. I mean, this is incredible. We've only had 3 cars go during the course of a 3-hour endurance race that has been nose to tail, up and down through the field.
Yeah, it just shows the endurance that some of these drivers have got. I mean, we've spoke about the single occupant drivers a couple of times, and they're still going. I wonder how full their bladders are right now. But even the teams out there, you know, there's luck in racing, and that's a saying that I've sort of harped on about during endurance racing quite a lot. Is luck plays a huge part in racing, and we've seen some good luck and we've seen some bad luck, because we see David Roth make up an extra position against Chris Heineke in the number 13 Bentley. Is that? Yeah, it's Bentley.
That's Bentley.
So David Roth getting another position up. So luck's played a part, and the key thing is, Stephen, that we've seen most of these drivers and teams stick it out. irrespective of what's gone on, they've just got on with it and dealt with it. And I have humongous praise for all those drivers that are still out there, especially Mickey Taylor, who is in a class of his own at the minute for me. And although he's languishing in last position, I vastly applaud his determination to just get the race and see the checkered flag.
As the world's fastest back marker, he is not in last position. I will dub the not in last position because you got to remember that there was three other teams that are behind him.
Yep.
So he is not in last, and this is the world's fastest back marker telling you you're not in last. So great stuff there.
That's an official endorsement, that is.
It landed up on Apex, it landed up on quite a few different broadcasts, and everyone asked, why do you say the world's fastest back marker? Reason why is keep seeing it go to the flag. That is the reason. You can be looking like you're at the back of the grid, but there is people that are thrown in the towel, and you are scoring points just by not throwing in that towel. And remember, this is a championship. This is only round 1 that you are getting to see here at ERA. We have still got so much more racing that's going to be happening out. We've got so much more going on. Round 2, Kota, 4 hours. That may be a big change. We may see some new teams coming in, a bit of a swap up with drivers. We're going to see quite a bit of interesting turn of events through it all. And there's just so much to go on, because remember, this is 4 rounds in total, consisting of 3 hour Barcelona, 4 hour of Kota, 6 hours of Silverstone, and 4 hours of the Red Bull Ring, as Mickey Taylor has 4 hours to move right out of the way of completely of. This is Pascal not giving him the option of turning in for that corner. He said, listen, it's mine. I'm going to carry on going. But absolutely incredible stuff. Oh, contact with one of the Griffin Sim Racing team up against Mickey Taylor, who's now rejoining back onto the track. He's a bit bent, he's a bit bruised, and Ruben Heineke gave him a little bit of an elbow. But that Mustang, despite being a car that no one wanted to drive, no one wanted to go and bring into endurance race, and he's going and being 7 laps down, he's still out there. I mean, that is just incredible to see. And that goes back to all our incredible drivers out around.
And speaking of one of them, Poirier, who's trying to outdrive that 10-second penalty, makes another position up now, up into P14. He's been slowly catching the Porsche and is now going to try and get on terms with the 930 BMW. It's about 5 seconds further up the road, but he's got a 10-second penalty to outdrive, and I don't know if he's got to pit again yet. I'm just going to try and see. He's been out 17 minutes, so I actually think he can go to the end now. What else have we got going on? We've got Hartman, 42 BMW, trying to close down Nathan Warren. It's good to see Nathan back on track in the 2ID. I believe that's a 2ID that he's driving. Good to see him back on circuit. I used to race with Nathan quite a lot in a different series. As a driver I know well. I've actually met him in real life. A real life race. Not a lot of these guys I've met in real life, but Nathan's one of them. And yeah, we're starting to see some pit stops creep in now for other drivers.
Well, the 2ID team is also one to keep an eye out for, as they've been a really strong team out in sprint racing and enduro. I remember my first enduro chatting about and getting to see the 2ID team coming in full force. It was actually Bathurst was the big one for me, where it landed up with both 2ID teams that were leading out the pack, running into each other at the top of the mountain. And it was quite an easy mistake because they were trying to avoid another car that was stationary there. But it's always great to see so many drivers, so many interesting names popping in, and to be a part of the incredible racing legacy that's here at ERA. And just once again, guys, if you are new here to ERA, a massive welcome to you guys. The whole thing about Evolution Racing Academy is to learn, to teach, to grow, and to get a whole bunch of friendship. You get to learn a lot about the drivers, and it doesn't matter whether you got the highest of skill levels or you're just beginning. It's always a welcoming place. And if you're thinking ERA has been around for a short time, well, let me correct you on that one. We've actually been around for a good couple of years here. and going and teaching, growing and becoming more and more and more throughout it all. And a big thank you, once again, has to be a shout out to our stewards, Chris, that have been working frantically behind the scene. Hopefully now they're going to have a little bit more of a calmer, till the end of the race. But I'm sure it hasn't been an easy one going and dishing out those penalties. And sometimes you're feeling like, oh man, I know this is going to hurt you. But what needs to be done needs to be done. As we see Arul Jar keeping likes of John Springs, who's going and having a look on the inside. The Track Tool team battling out against the 499, otherwise Racing Endurance, as they fight it up. But this is going to be a proper run. Just getting a bit of a note here, drifting in on the side, coming in from the head of the PWSR, old Alan Patterson himself, who is saying that they're hoping to see Jason Farmer getting 4th, if not 3rd at the moment. Well, Camilo Sun's 5 seconds off the back of him, and Jason Farmer's 13 seconds off Ben Hicks. But he's still got a 5-second penalty on top of him, so that's definitely going to hurt it out. Darius, however, is making up a bit of ground on Dean O'Keefe at the moment with 26 minutes to go. That's going to be a bit of a close call. Going back to our fight to the Wise Racing Endurance, and we've also got the likes of the Track Tool team. Well, Earl Jar going and just backing off from that little bit of a fight. He's going to try and slingshot himself around the outside. And these two are absolutely brawling for 20th and 21st position, which is fantastic because even though they're not fighting out for the lead, this is the lead for them.
Yeah, well, every position will matter. You want to do it for pride or points. Just go back to Farmer. I just had a quick look out of curiosity, and yeah, I think he's got some fresher boots on that Ferrari. Of course, his penalty aside, he's got to outdrive that, but he has a pace advantage for sure on the cars ahead of him. Whether I think Darius is probably going to be a bit too much of an ask. But Farmer for sure definitely has the potential to get Ben Hicks.
This is going to be the debut run for PWSR here in ERA, which is always fantastic to see. The Everest Racing team keeping the pressure on the VMV, a new team to us, and good to see them out there. But Nicholas going and putting in a huge amount of pressure. He's got a 10-second deficit he has to battle out. But Ruben Heineke, 8th place, man, that's going to hurt. 20 seconds added up onto him. Definitely going to be taking a bit of a punch out of that drive.
Yeah, I can go back and have a look, but that at the minute would only drop him 1 position, I believe. So it's not the end of the world for Heineken. He can certainly, he can certainly be quite thankful that he's not in a closer battle at the moment. He's coming up to the back he's trying to get on the back of Rodell in the 181 Ferrari, who we've seen has got some phenomenal pace behind him. Anyway, let's just have a look and see if I can find out why he's had those penalties. One was a blue flag infringement. In fact, yeah, it was a blue flag infringement that gave him that 20-second penalty.
Oof. Definitely a hard one, and it's something, please read the rules. It's something you got to get very familiar with in the world of racing, pretty much anything. If you don't read the manual, you won't get it working, and when you have to go and call customer service, well, maybe going in when it says water resistant doesn't mean going and testing it in the pool. But taking a look, Nicholas Cora keeping on the back of Remy at the moment, and the two of them having a good forwarding battle with one another in the fight out for 13th and 12th position respectively. And Cora, with that 10-second penalty, is looking to try and open up as much of a gap as possible to Wayne Ferreira, who's taken over from his brother Terence Ferreira, but is going to leave him in a world of hurt dealing with Remy at the moment, who is, well, just making him walk away a long way around every step of the time. Nicholas going for the inside though. Whoa, a bit of a move there to try and get ambitious. It done. And yeah, Nicholas venturing off, seeing the other side, the old way of getting around where you don't have to worry about that little chicane part. You can go as fast as you want, carry down the straight, then you hit the anchors. It's the GP side of ways of doing it.
Yeah, so with 23 minutes left on the clock, a bit bouncy there over the curbs, and that's going to affect his speed out. Corey actually had to lift there so that he didn't run into the back of the BMW, which gives the BMW a little bit of a reprieve. Goes defensive against the McLaren. The McLaren, not the best straight line car, but it has a really good brake. So Corey will just try and sweep back to the racing line. The BMW, of course, now going to be slower into T1, but should be able to recover through turn 2. Corey, yeah, he had to be a little bit slower to give him a little bit of door-by-door contact. I don't think there's too much in that. Both drivers live to fight another day. The BMW actually just had a little bit of a rear end shake there as it tried to get the power down coming out of turn 3, and Corey's going to have to sweep round the outside contact again. These two are having a right old ding dong, aren't they?
Going back to DTM racing. Oh, Corey has lost the rear. He's managed to bring it back, but definitely that took a little bit of punch out, and it's going to hurt the tires in the long run there. But man, oh man, that was proper door-to-door racing. And I've got to say, absolutely stunning work going and blasting around. Now, I want to give it up to a little bit all the way in here in South Africa. Now, we've got to also talk about time zones. We've got a various amount of drivers from different parts of the world. France, Brazil, South Africa, UK, Germany. I mean, there's so much that we could talk about. But for the South Africans, I'd like to say good morning on a Sunday morning. It's 12:30. Hopefully you've had your cup of coffee. So, welcome. Glad to see you here. And definitely, I think some are excited about the racing. For those, if you wet the bed, welcome. We do enjoy having your company regardless, as we're providing some great racing action compared to what you would find mostly on TV. But man, Correa is back on Remy as hard as he can at this point. Once again, defensive inside line, and is going to try it again. He is swapping it up. He's going to the outside line, and Correa taking as much road as possible to try and make his way through, looking to fight it out. Chris Heineke in pit lane, loses out of position, and now having to try and figure out where they can go.
Yeah, I'm just going to try and see what happened to Heineke there, actually, because he was showing as a yellow flag. I'm just watching the replay on my screen to see if I can figure this out. He was ahead of the number 37 car. Just looked like he went into turn 1 too quickly, so I actually don't know what happened to him there. That's a bit of a mysterious one. Just going back to your point about time zones and all that sort of stuff, I'll tell you what, Stephen, if the South Africans there at 12:30 in the morning or anything like the South Africans that I know from LNR, it won't be coffee they're drinking. So
the infamous phone call that I think 90% of that phone book received. For those who know, no. For those who don't, well, you just go and ask a certain Paul Fenter. Well, Nicholas Correa underneath looking for the undercut. Looks like he's got it beautifully cinched in. Remy ran out a little bit wide there. The BMW, I think, is now going to be quickly dispatched. Now, all he has to do is hang in for 10 seconds. He's just got to be within 10 seconds of that race. So, in other words, just stay there. Just stay there. Lynch yourself to the back of the car. Throw a tow hook around it. As we do see, Spencer Brown is in pit lane. That's a bit of a peculiar driver to see, and maybe just from a splash and dash sort of purpose. But we also did see... So, Spencer Brown was in there, but I'm sure I saw Johan van der Venter. Yes.
Yeah.
We did see van der Venter.
9 minutes into the stint, so don't know what's happened there.
Well, Wayne Ferreira is putting as well, so that little calculation... Remember we talked about that 3.1 versus that 3.5 versus fuel that you think wouldn't bite you at the start of the race. You remember that, Chris?
Yeah, this is crunch time now, so they'll know exactly how much fuel they've got. If they've got the calculations right, they'll have enough fuel to get through the remaining time of the race. Of course, it's time typically plus a lap, so it sort of depends when the leader comes across the line. So the smart ones amongst them will have a extra lap of fuel on board just in case. There may be some backside switching, just depending on how many laps the forecast had left to do. But with 18 minutes left, all these cars will be nice and light in the fuel tanks now. No more than sort of 40 litres on board any of them, I'd imagine. Yeah, it's just whether they've got the calculations right, Stephen. You know, the mathematicians on the pit wall should have been getting these calculations down accurately the last time they went through pit road. And another car disqualified for exceeding driver time. That was Ferreira, who we actually saw in pit road a minute ago. So that's a bit of a perplexing one for me.
Well, Wayne Ferreira, that means the Ferreira brothers, unfortunately, out of the race. We did get a bit of information that Chris Heineke was running into technical issues, so he needed to get towed back, got himself sorted, and he's back out on track just to see it through to the end in the big Bentley, one of the very few Bentleys that you get to see racing on ACC nowadays in any multiplayer platform. But also, big turn of events goes to Luke Nelson, who's out in the car. They've got a drive-through penalty that needs to be served, and that is purely for track limits exceeded. If I remember correctly, you've only got 3 laps to serve that. If you go beyond that, you get disqualified. Are a couple of these drivers getting that drive-through, not seeing it, exceeding the time for the drive-through, and then getting collared with the penalty? Because it might be that. You getting that drive-through for the amount of time that you've been in the car, you're going that extra lap or two, and unfortunately that extra lap or two is enough to take you out of the race. We did have it out here in South Africa. It landed up in a 2-hour solo enduro, where we were actually having a chat to Daniel de Villiers, who was just here, and as well I alluded he's used to getting penalties. He got a drive-through penalty. He started watching the countdown, 3, 2, 1, 0, and as it hit 0, he thought maybe he can pit on lap 0. Turns out you can't. If it hits 0, it's an instant DQ. It's gone. That's it. You've actually got roughly 2 laps to get it done since the drive-through, to get yourself sorted as Nelson gets his drive-through done and dusted. So we might be seeing that coming into play. I would put in. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, it's hard to say. I mean, one of the downsides, I think, of sim racing is that setting these servers up, the technical problems that can come with it, you can't predict them. And they do happen. I'm sort of in communication in the background with some of the staff trying to thing up. I have had confirmation that the stint timer issues that we've been seeing is an issue with the race server. So it's nothing to do with the drivers that have been doing it. And race control in the background have been working absolutely feverishly to try and undo the damage. But yeah, so it's something that will be investigated by the staff afterwards. Don't worry about that. But there is an issue behind the scenes that's causing this to happen. So the team are very aware of it and are undoing the damage as soon as they see it. But unfortunately, it is going to have an impact on a couple of drivers' races.
Well, definitely not for the Ferreira team. They back out and going. They literally back out and going. So the admin team doing the absolute work there to get both Wayne Ferreira and Terence Ferreira back out and going after getting the unfortunate DSQ that got removed. They up and going yet again. And yes, they're a little bit down the order, but they're going. And that is the main thing that drivers are going to be aware of, is throwing your hat in and throwing off to one side. Definitely not the right way of doing it. Now they've figured out where you can be undone if that does happen to you. So definitely something to keep an eye out for. And as we found, more's to be fixed in the future. Find, fix, and move on type of thing. Well, we want to talk about a find and fix at the moment. Michael Castro trying to find a way to get past Camille and fix himself into that top 5. Jason Farmer running in 4th is 1.6 seconds off Ben Hicks to try and make up some time. And Jason Farmer is
quicker as well.
Yeah, and a little bit of help from former teammate of the Griffin Sim Racing team to give him the tow down the straight, lift off the throttle, and get going yet again.
Yeah, I was looking at the Castro. I call him Miguel, by the way, because I accidentally called him that once and it stuck. And now calling him Michael just sounds wrong. So, yeah, Miguel, well and truly on a fight and a charge for that top 5 position. Jason Farmer, of course, needs to outdrive a 5-second penalty. So even if he gets this move done, he'll have to get 5 seconds up the road before the timer runs out in order to do that. We've got 30 minutes left. A lap is 1 minute 44, 45 for most of these drivers. So not a ton of opportunity for Farmer to actually undo that damage of that penalty, even if he does get this move made. And that move isn't going to be the easiest against the world. Ben Hicks is a hell of a pilot.
We're also seeing Adam Stewart losing out of position to Mateus Alves all the way out from Brazil. And the Nebula Esports getting ahead of the Wise Racing on the way through as well. So lots of little battles starting to form all over the show in the crunch time to the end of round 1, the inaugural round of the first season of ERA Endurance. And well, at this rate, looking at how many people have arrived, how many teams have arrived, looking at our beautiful spectators out there in the virtual grandstands, I fully expect this to be existing long into the future, when you and I are going to be sitting in a retirement home going, we were there at the very first one.
Yeah, mate, this is it. This is the start of what I hope to be a successful championship. And pretty much, like I said at the start, really, we've been trying to get this off the ground for a while, and this hasn't gone perfectly. There has been some technical issues in the background that, rest assured, we'll investigate and aim to resolve in time for the next one. You know, these things do happen, unfortunately. They're not the easiest events to put on, but huge credit to everyone behind the scenes who's put in effort and is still putting in effort to get this off the ground and running and working. Yeah, it's a good event so far.
Absolutely great stuff. Well, with Dean Norcare leading out, and we've got Darius 9 seconds back, we're watching Ben Hicks and Jason Farmer having a bit of a fight. Final 10 minutes and 53 seconds to go. I'm going to ask a bit of a racing question, a little bit different to the GT3 racing. Who out there thinks is going to win the Formula 1 today? There we go. There's a nice little question.
Of course. Well, I'm a Lando fan. So I'll always back Lando and McLaren. So I kind of hope Oscar can convert his pole position into a win.
I hope Oscar can do it. I'm not quite too sure about Lando. But as you said, Lando Norris, I just watched Ben Hicks throw himself off the circuit. So I'm guessing he's not really a fan of Lando. Camille Alcin, though, got a little bit of a drive. Now going in up to right onto the back of him. And pretty much like the surprise of Lance Stroll putting in the fight and getting way ahead of his own teammate, Fernando Alonso, Camille Alcin now looking to put the fight straight to Ben Hicks. And these two have fought it out in the past many times before. Michael Castro out in 6th is onto the back of him as well. So Miguel might be having a bit of fun with the Los Pantos Hermanos BMW that's right onto the back of them, and is about to give both the British and the Germans a tough time.
0.3 of a second separate these 3 cars, and this is a recipe for absolute racing glory. Then 9.5 minutes left to go. Miguel tries to hang one round the outside. Ben Hicks ahead of the Aston Martin. The back end of that BMW does not look happy, Stephen. Every time it exits a corner, it's wiggling around like an excited dog. The Aston Martin smells blood now and is just right on the back of him, just trying to force a mistake, but at the same time has to be cautious that there is another. He's in the middle of a BMW sandwich here, and the BMW behind him looks a lot more composed than the one ahead of him, and he'll be very aware of that. Sorry, I've just noticed what's on the back of Ben Hicks.
I was looking and oh, now we get a close-up shot. Thank you.
Now we see. Yeah, now we see.
It took us that long to eventually see it. Oh man!
I was just like, is that what I think it is? Yeah, there it is.
And Camille gives us a close-up shot, but Michael getting a bit of a tap on the backside as well. Those fresh cheeks are busy being shown by Ben Hicks over there.
Those cheeks have been clapped. That's all we can say.
Gerald's got a perfect view of it all the way around. I mean, this is going to be a interesting little fight. I do think Ben Hicks has an opportunity here, but Camille is starting to open up a little bit more of a run. I do want to point out, however, Jason Farmer is 2.4 seconds ahead of Camille's son. He is roughly 3 seconds ahead of Michael Castro. He would roughly be about nearly 4.5 seconds ahead of Ben Hicks come the end of this race at this rate. He needs to keep his foot in it to break away to get third place. This is going to be a hope that both Camillison and Castro can throw themselves down the order far enough and get into a fight that it also lands up with. I do want to point out that the Reptile Racing is in for the mix as well. This has been a car that has steadily stayed in its starting position of 7th on the way through and is giving everything he's got. So Dean Nokia is out with the PWSR solo. Darius is with the Logistical Nightmare Racing in 2nd. Jason Farmer for PWSR is in 3rd. Then we've got Garage 59 with Camille Sun. We've got Los Pantos Hermanos running in 5th. We've got the Flying Dutchman in 6th. 7th is Reptile Racing, gets on by the likes of our Griffin Sim Racing. 8th place is Griffin Sim Racing Ruin Heineke, who has been in the car solo, along with the likes of Mons Ritter of Lando Mechanics that are part of the track tool team. And 10th place is Liam Nissan at this point. I mean, this has just been a race and a half, but Jason Farmer's 3rd place is dependent on Castro and Camille to throw each other down 5 seconds. Your race for the podium is whether these two can mess each other up enough. Oh, as we do see Michael, who missed his braking marker, now dealing in the fight a little bit further back. It just didn't shot Ben Hicks and the likes of Pascal onto the back of him and really chasing down the Flying Dutchman. Well, we're about to see whether the snake has got enough venom in it that's going to clap the cheeks. I can't say.
I was just going to say, Pascal at a minute will be doing the same that way. He's got close enough now to the BMW. And we're going, is that what I think it is? Just
that's the
maybe
problem.
it's a distraction technique. I don't know. You know, we're all gamers and we all like a well refined backside. And Ben Hicks is literally showing one off to the world right now. But yeah.
The question is, is it their backside? Oh, drive through for Ben Hicks. Ben Hicks drive through.
Oh, I've just seen it happen as well. Yeah, I just saw it happen, and I instinctively looked to the timing screen to see what had flashed up, and drive through immediately for Ben Hicks. So that's thrown him out of contention. That unfortunately, he's just had a little bit of a bad run of form, and it's come at the wrong time. We all know he's a fantastic driver, but sometimes these things just come in waves. You make one mistake, and suddenly you're swarmed, and that's what happened to the BMW, I think. Just bad news, and he'll probably come. Yeah, he's coming in to serve that straight away. So, let me just clear something. Give me a second.
So that is going to be the big slipper coming out. When you cause trouble, that big slipper comes out, and unfortunately, gave him 1-2 over. As we do see a little bit of side-by-side rubbing for Castro and Camille Sun. They are now 3 seconds off the back of Jason Farmer. These two can slow each other down. If there's any way for the likes of Jason Farmer to just keep pushing as hard as he can, and I think everyone of the PWSR team will be willing on Castro and Camille. Go guys, fight it out. You deserve this absolute race, this ding dong, door to door, side to side. Just go for it. You deserve it, and just hopefully knock off another 3 seconds would be appreciated at this point.
It's definitely possible. Farmer's doing what he needs to do. He's delivering high 44s, which based at the point in the race we're in, he's about the fastest man on track at the moment. So he's doing everything he can. He's a little bit slower on this lap, looking at his delta, but he's recovering some of it actually based on where he is on track now. He's having a really good second and third sector. yeah, if Castro and Hassan keep tripping over themselves and any back markers, there's enough time left in this race for that time to go quickly. You'll be surprised how much time you lose fighting another car. It is a long time. Castro will be smelling blood. Hassan will want to keep his position. There's definite possibilities for Farmer to keep his third place, even with that 5-second penalty. But it all depends on what these two guys do in the next 2 laps.
Man, this is when you wish you can climb over that wall and 6,000 RPM. Go for it, guys.
Go for it. Go like hell. We gotta see Miguel go for a move here. Camille's defending like his life depends on it. Miguel's trying to sweep round the outside. We've seen this movie before, though. Contact is inevitable, and there is contact, and Miguel unfortunately doesn't get the position. Camille survives. Yeah, and again, that's going to cost him time. I'm looking at the deltas absolutely drop. Yeah, he's dropping like a stone. Farmer that time out, 45-2. 45-8 for Camille that time out. So, 6 tenths lost. Doesn't sound like a lot, but it's going to be even more this lap with that contact through turn 2.
Well, that's it then. We've also got Tobias Hartmann and Louis going and fighting it out with one another. They trying to make up some time. Elders and Wayne Ferreira trying to make up some time as well. So we are seeing little fights all over. But the crucial one is coming down to the gambling game here, where you've rolled the dice, you've got that 5 seconds, and it's coming down to who's going to have a bad hand. For Camille, if he stays within 4 seconds now, he secures a third place as a solo driver and has been in the fight. For Castro, this has been a race of recovery for the team. They have an opportunity to get into third place. But if these two keep going at it the way they are, Jason Farmer will be breathing a sigh of relief. At this point, you're hoping brake fade is just going to come into these cars. Just please miss a brake marker by just 2 meters. You don't even have to put your car in the wall, just enough to run you through the kitty litter, just to slow it down, because we got 1 minute and 6 seconds. Dean Nokia leads. Darius for the Logistical Nightmare Racing is in second place. Jason Farmer's in third. Tentative will be in fifth.
He is wringing the neck of that Ferrari, by the way, Stephen. Sorry I've just been on board with him, and these tyres at this point they're screaming, and he is extracting every millisecond of pace he possibly can. The team 100% are on the radio to him. He's getting a corner by corner update on his time, 4.7 seconds now. He will be getting updates on this as it goes, and he is doing everything in his power to outdrive this penalty. What a drive by Farmer. He's a candidate for my driver of the day for me.
Oh, we just heard leader is on the final lap, folks. Leader is on the final lap. We are pushing for it all. This is it. Round 1 of the ERA Endurance Championship. And at the moment, 4.9 to 5 seconds. Camille is right there. If the back marker fouls him up, Jason Farmer would hold third. He's got to keep going at this point. He would be seeing the last lap. He is absolutely ringing it. We are keeping a blow by blow on this. Camille's 5.2 seconds off.
Yeah, he's done it now. He's done it now. This is last time. So Castro's basically got one opportunity now. He's got to send it at turn 1. He needs a good run out of this final corner. He gets it, I think. Really good run out by Castro. But he's got to send it. He's got to do it turn 1. Hassan will defend it. Castro knows what Camille's like, and he knows that he's going to just have that inside line through turn 2. If he can send it here, and if he can have a really good lap, he might be able to get back on board with Farmer. But that gap is now 5.5 seconds, and I think the Hassan's done enough,
I think these two have literally gone and screwed the pooch. That's the only way it can be said. Because Dean Nokia is coming through. He is absolutely ringing it. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from first place in qualifying to first place in the race, Dean Nokia, the solo driver, on his debut outing, will come across the line behind the Liam Neeson and will take the checkered flag For the first round, Darius will take the checkered flag for the Logistical Nightmare Racing team. And at current, Jason Farmer will see the battle behind him. He's cleared it by 6 seconds. He has done it. All he needs to do is keep going. Ruin Heineke's got a drive through and will not see the top 10 by the looks of it. No, he gets a 20-second. Apologies on that one. But Jason Farmer managed to break away and leave the fight behind him. Jason Farmer secures 3rd place despite the penalty. Camille holding on to that 4th place tooth and nail. Oh, in contact between the two, and Pascal has stolen it away. Come on, Pascal, come on. No, he lost the drive. God. We lost the drive. He would have had it. That would have been the steal of the century. And that was Michael Castro into the back of Camille. And Pascal nearly robbed them of 4th place completely, taking them out of the fight. Ruin Heineke comes across the line with 20 seconds. Martin Spritzer has done enough to lock in 8th for the track tool team Lamborghini. And Ben Hex locks in that 9th for the Flying Dutchman. And once again, absolutely great stuff. There we go. Cheeks come across the line. Fantastic. Just had to go and show there for everyone to see. David Roth, though, comes in, locking in for that 10th position. Liam's Nissan has done enough. It had that particular set of skills, but what a race towards the end. My heavens.
It delivered at the end, didn't it? We had the drama. My word.
My nerves are shot. Drama. My nerves are shot.
Oh well, yeah. I mean, I was just more intrigued as to how Castro was going to try and attack Hassan there right at the end, and it ended up just unveiling into something completely different, where Rodell came in and stormed it anyway. And what a race! Congratulations to Dean. He didn't get a lot of coverage, which he'll probably be quite happy about, to be brutally honest, because the less time we spend looking at you, the more time means that you've been leading out the front. But great race for Dean, Darius and Chris in the Nissan. Unfortunate, with the contact with the BMW, the 911 BMW, that potentially cost him a shot at the win, but it's racing sometimes, isn't it? What a race we've just seen, though.
I mean, that is the highs, the lows, the thrills, the spills, the drama, the crazy times out there, and what a race it has been, and what an incredible time. I mean, taking a look back to the race, it's just wild to think. Back in 2024, there was a venture, an idea of let's do endurance racing the way we like it. And it came down to what it is right now. Chris, being part of the background of things, getting to see it all unfold, and with everything that's gone on, the thrills, the spills, the highs, the lows, the dramas, the excitement, live stewarding, 3 hours of racing, this is a huge step for the drivers, the teams, and more importantly, this is a huge step here in ERA.
Yeah, I mean, what a race to start off the Endurance Championship. I know we had our issues, and race assured they're gonna get addressed by the staff in the background, and we're not gonna sit back and let technical issues ruin what was a fantastic race. Yeah, it kind of had it all. It had strategy, it had drama, we had collisions, we had solo drivers out there. I've no doubt their bladders are absolutely bursting right now, but yeah, when we've got some of them now joining us in the commentary booth waiting to speak. So Stephen, I'm going to hand it over to you for the interviews, my friend.
Well, let's bring in our 3rd place, who I think has worn his knuckles to the ground. His steering wheel is bent in 3 ways to anything, and currently has it folded like a absolute burrito. Jason Farmer, what a race, and especially at the end, 5-second penalty. The guys are on top of you, and it came down to them fighting behind you. How are you feeling, bud?
Oh, wow. I'm sweating buckets here. But yeah, it was absolutely awesome race. And yeah, just those guys fighting behind gave me that little bit of margin. So Yeah, I'm stoked. That was an absolutely awesome race.
Well, from it all, new to the PWSR family, moving from the likes of the Griffin sim racing. I mean, this is a big step into a different direction. You had a completely different team around you. How you feeling with everything that's gone on, and just how your debut here in PWSR colors, not your debut running it here in ERA.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't think I could have actually asked for a better result. The lap times were good. We were consistent. The chat was nice. We had Alan in the back as well, like giving us pointers and telling us what was what. Mr. Dino keeping me kind of calm and on point. So yeah, it was really good. I can't actually complain at all. And yeah, it was a fantastic start to a new kind of journey for me. So yeah.
Absolutely incredible stuff. Chris, I mean,
Yeah,
there must be
I
so
was
many
gonna, I was
questions.
gonna ask. Well, I was gonna ask really. In those last few laps, were you getting blow by blow accounts of what was happening with Camille and Miguel, their fight, and what was the
Yeah.
stress levels like in the cockpit at the end of that? Because it must have been very tense.
I mean, yeah, I think I started, what it was, about 6 or 7 laps to the end. I felt my tires kind of dying off a bit, so I wasn't able to actually pull the gap. But as soon as they started battling like that, yeah, the gap just slowly was incrementally going up. And yeah, Alan in the background just letting me know that they were side by side, they were fighting, just to keep my head down and just keep pushing. So yeah, it
Yeah,
was awesome.
you absolutely drove the nuts off that Ferrari as well in the last
Thanks, man.
stage. I was on board with you. Obviously, my screen's not shared, so I could just sit on board with people for a while. And I sat on board with you. I think the third or fourth lap from the end, thinking, "Oh, his tyres have got to be dead by now," and you're absolutely wringing the neck of it. So, and I came on. I said to Stephen, I was like, "This guy's extracting every millisecond of pace he possibly can." But what a result to start the Endurance Championship for yourself. Have you got big hopes and dreams for this championship? Is it something that you're really focusing on? And how are you adapting to your racing life within ERA? Because I know you've been driving with us on Sundays as well.
Yeah. Well, I mean, for me, enduro is actually like kind of what I love to do. So yeah, the longer the race, the better. So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of the season. It's going to be epic.
Great stuff, man. Thanks for well done for your P3, and you can go and enjoy some champagne now.
Sweet. Thank you, Jens.
I think it's champagne and anti-anxiety and whatever else can be
Yeah.
thrown at that point.
Tramadol. And...
No, there was a whole lot there. Let's talk to our second place in the Nissan, going and fighting it out, and it was also dogfight from the start to the finish. And I think only at the end, the Logistical Nightmare Racing team were able to get any sort of reprieve. Let's go and bring up Darius to come and have a chat to us. Our James Hunt coming and joining us. Darius, what an incredible drive out there, and some tremendous work of racing. I mean, that was hard racing at the start, getting to see everything out there and seeing how everything lands up. I mean, take us through the start of the race.
Yeah, thanks for having me, boys. Yeah, that was. I'm sweating buckets. Like Jason just said, I'm completely knackered, and I think Chris did a very good job at the start of the race, keeping us in with all the strategy stuff that we did. The contact with Dean and with shooting was a bit unfortunate, but well, it is what it is. And I got the stint where we had to do the used tires. So I thought maybe I'm gonna do the odd strategy thing of just starting on 130 liters of fuel and just do a drive through to reset the stint timer. So I basically did like 80 minutes of one set of tires flat. And I can tell you it was not a nice experience, but we didn't get a drive through. We ended up P2. I think that's a very good result. We can be happy with that. Also, congrats to P1 and P2. Tremendous race. Well done. And yeah, I guess we will have to see what the championship holds out for us.
Incredible stuff. And I gotta say, it was quite entertaining to see the Logistical Nightmare Nissan out there and to see Chris in a completely different car. Well done for going and bending his arm 6 ways to everything. Chris, well, anything you would like to say? I mean, this is your team here that managed to secure second place in the debut running of the ERA Endurance.
I mean, I'm a little biased, as I said, sort of at the start of the race, Stephen, when you asked me to predict my winner, and I said I can't predict against Darius and Chris. I simply can't do that. They're going to take it, and I think there was definitely a point in the race when I thought that was definitely going to happen. The pace that Darius and Chris have got and can unlock, and it was a bit of an unfortunate collision with a BMW that I think put pay to that ultimately, but. Great starter, Darius, to be honest. I know you had some struggles with getting the tyres switched on to where you want them to do. Did you manage to resolve that in the race, even getting a used set to run at some point?
I mean, at one point I think I was running constant 45 flats to low 44s on like dead used tires on way too much fuel on a front that was overheating, so I'd say I've managed enough. The amount of cope was too high. And for your win prediction, what can I say? I love to disappoint.
You'll never disappoint me, Darius. You could never do that, mate. No, well done. Solid result to start. If you finish where you qualified against the level of competition that this championship's brought in, then you walk away proud with that. Another trophy for the cabinet and some more champagne to throw down your neck as well.
Yep.
Well done, mate, and well done to Chris as well. If you speak to him.
Yeah, I'll pass that on.
Cheers, mate. Thanks
for having me, boys.
I think Chris has already dived to bed at this point.
He probably has. Yeah, he probably has.
Well,
or knowing Chris is on LFM.
Well, life is a racer, always a racer. But first place, you come in, a solo driver that had high expectations coming into the ERA Championship, sending me messages saying, listen, I am racing here. There's been a huge push in their publicity, being out there a little bit more, out on Facebook, giving all a little bit of lowdown on what's happening. But, Chris, you got to race against this gentleman many times here in South Africa. You've managed to ding doors with each other many times as well. But I think it's only right, as Chris Wall, the man of ERA, to interview our winner of round 1 of the ERA Endurance Championship Season 1. Here comes Dean Nokia of PWSR.
Hello, boys.
Hello, Dean. Welcome to the commentary booth. Quick first question: how's your bladder?
My word, I think I'm dried up so much. It's all the sweating. So I think everything that was supposed to go outputs via bladder just went output via sweat. So I'm alright, good there. My left leg is a bit numb and dead. I'm a little bit overweight, so this chair is squeezing my blood flow. But other than that, I'm okay. Thank you for asking.
Good man. Firstly, well done for the result. Obviously, you put in a stonking qualifying to get yourself on pole position, but the opening laps you didn't keep it. So talk us through what was your thought process when you lost your number 1 spot near the start, and did that alter your strategy in any way?
Yes, 100%. Look, it's all about the facts and the reality of it. Obviously, I don't think I've done a grid start recently on Barcelona, so I wasn't sure how fast the thing's going to launch, and it completely caught me off guard, unfortunately. Got swallowed up by the faster 8-cylinder cars, and but after that, I knew I had Chris ahead of me, and then Shoten ahead of me as well. Knowing their considerable race pace, is probably going to be about 2 to 3 tenths a lap off of the one that I could do comfortably. But for me, obviously in a 3-hour race, if I'm just losing 2-3 tenths a lap over 20 laps, it's only about 8, 9, 10 seconds initially. And on the bigger picture, I can't be, how could I say, impatient with that. I knew I was going to catch the GTO at the end, but I didn't realize. So I just tried to start a slipstream in the beginning, like you mentioned. I fell a little bit back because you hurt your tires quite significantly if you try and stay within that 1 second range. So what I tend to do is, if I know I'm going to just sit behind someone for a while with a decent pace, I'll just drop back to about 1.5, 2 seconds so I don't get the wash and save my tires. So I'm not going to risk being too close to somebody and making contact. So that was the whole situation. But I did not count for the GTR's top line speed, so it doesn't matter what I could do. On the last sector, I can get close and then lose half a second throughout the middle stint. And that really started hurting me. And then Shoten obviously pulled a 6-7 second gap ahead. And that sort of, I had to go and pit 7 minutes earlier just to offset all our pit stops. And that seemed to have worked, yes.
Yeah, great stuff. Well, I mean, obviously, all's well that ends well, and you can stand on the top step of the podium for the first of the ERA Endurance Series races. So you've got a nice big trophy to put on your cabinet there. Just a little bit of feedback from yourself. This is your first event with ourselves, and how did you find it? How did you find the competition? And any comments on any of that?
Oh, of course. Obviously, knowing Chris, he's a very good race IQ driver. So it's brilliant. I knew the guys I was in and out against. Driving with him in other leagues, which was great. We actually get along very well. And I thought for a second, maybe I was a little bit naive, but I thought for a second once he started seeing that his tires are going off and I had more pace than him, he was going to let me by so that we can both go and chase Shoten, and then him and I could have our battle at the later stage. So I tried flashing once. I think it's the first time I've ever flashed someone, but I think he knows me. And but the competition is good. There was 1 or 2 or 3 naughty backmarkers who actually raced me, like from corner to corner to corner, side by side, and that was quite interesting and strange. So 2 or 3 times backmarkers let somebody just ahead of me through and then get ahead of me, and every time I was about to obviously work my undercut and jump them in the pits and create a gap, I'd be 2 or 3 seconds and then something like that would happen, and then that stupidly quick Godzilla of a car would be behind me. But no, overall, just the way that people are, the stewards, you guys are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, I had to force myself to stop looking to the right and tell myself, it's not you, Dean. It's nothing to do with you. It's not you. It's not you.
It's not your number. It's not your number. You can forget it.
Yeah, that's exactly how it was. So for me, that's brilliant. I like to see that. I don't like when people exploit dirty tactics or dirty driving. And from what I can see here, the vibe in the community is brilliant. So I've really felt made welcome. So thank you very much for that. I mean, I'm friends with, or no acquaintances with a lot of you LNR people, obviously. And I think, that's fun. It's really, really fun. I'm going to enjoy this, and I think there's some decent oaks. Shoten reached out to me. I could just keep talking for days. Everybody in here just chilled. Good racing.
No, well, it's great to have you around. There's plenty more racing to come. There's a full Sunday series that we run as well, if you fancy getting your chops involved in that. But if it's just the endurance you're here for, you've got Kota to look forward to in the next round. And yeah, we know you've done a Kota race recently, so you'll know the track, and you'll hopefully have some setups already built, and you'll know your way around. And we can look forward to that one. Yeah,
perfect. I hope this Kota result will be different than my previous one. I think everybody who knows me or knows what happened, that's obviously not something I would be proud of. So maybe the next Kota season will be there. And I'm not sure if I'll do the Sunday series. I don't like too much hard racing, especially with people I'm not too familiar with. So I'll just stick it out to the endurance racing where you can be a little bit more patient and you don't have to force moves and stuff like that. I just want to have some long, nice racing for streams and just get used to a different community again. So, no, thank you so much for everything you guys are doing. Your administration and the way you run Discord and your work behind the scenes are just so professional, and I thoroughly enjoy it here.
Thanks for that, mate. And you're very much welcome anytime. And well done again for what was a brilliantly well executed race. Stephen, back to yourself, mate, for anything you may want to speak to Dino about.
I would like to add something.
Go for it.
I didn't bloody know a drive-through clears a stint timer.
Yeah.
If I knew this, I would have been completely different strategy. Because that's like 25 seconds that you can gain.
Found out.
Yeah, of course.
I mentioned it in the briefing.
I've got myself to blame only, obviously. I've asked so many questions behind the scenes because, you don't like to lose on a technicality and stuff like that. And I almost did. When I went and I saw, I think it's how you pronounce it, Chmielewski. I like the guy, obviously. He's hilarious. But when I saw he's like only 6 seconds behind me, knowing he's done his next stop, I was like, bloody hell, okay, he did something. And then the team told me, oh no, you can do a drive-through. I was like, oh yeah, I'm a chop.
Yeah, it's one of those cheeky little ways, I guess, that you can really run a set of tyres very far and deep into the race if you want to.
Of course, because I was on 87 minutes on my set, and I could still do mid-44s at the end, So if I knew that whole little drive-through trick, I would have saved myself another, 20, 22 seconds, and just put in 30 liters extra fuel and fly. But I'll keep it in the bag for the future. We'll see how it pans out. Maybe I can sneak one in sometime as well.
It's not like you needed it today, though, Dean, to be fair. So, all's well that ends.
Well done, Dean, on a great race and taking round 1 of the championship. Good to see the fight coming out to you here at ERA. And, well, I think we might see you on the Sundays. There's always that little gremlin of, well, let's go and try and race a bit more. But well done, Dean, on a monster effort, and well done on the solo win for the ERA. 3 hours of Barcelona here at round 1 of the championship.
Thank you so much, Stephen. Thank you always for having me. And don't plant that seed in my head for Sunday. So no, I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it, but I'm sure somehow somebody's going to try and convince me. We'll see.
You can always tune in. That's fine. Don't stress. I don't tend to talk nonsense or pull people in. I tend to just invite and say, here we go. That simple thing of
dangle the carrot.
When you go to a bar and you're always like, I'm just going to have one drink, and that one drink keeps going and going. It's like when you offer a chocolate milkshake. It's never just one chocolate milkshake. But I do want to bring in a driver that didn't get onto the top 3 that we went and had, but is a driver that personally I think did darn well. And this is a driver that at the beginning of the race started in pit lane in a Mustang that didn't go so well, landed up with technical difficulties, disconnected, battled to get reconnected, tried everything to just get going, got convinced by our entire amazing people out there in the virtual grandstands. And I would say, personally, one of my drivers of the day, I want to bring up Mickey Taylor of Taylor Motorsport to come and have a chat to us. Going to be the first time actually having Mickey up here. So while waiting for Mickey to accept, there we go. Mr. Taylor, welcome to the commentary box, and well done on finishing and keeping your foot in it, finishing up in 28th position. Nonetheless, I mean, you've got to be in it to win it, and so far, you were in it right through to the end. How are you feeling?
Feeling pretty tired after them 3 hours, but I thoroughly enjoyed trying to make the best of a bad situation, trying to keep out of the way of people racing, also trying to race them at the same time, so it's quite interesting. Claw back a few positions, quite happy to take the points and move on to the next round, hopefully with my teammate next to me as well, and finishing much higher up the grid.
Well,
Get more involved.
It's been an absolute great one. I mean, take us through the moment where stuff started looking like it was going a little bit wrong on your side. What was the thoughts running through your head at that time? Was it ready to throw the towel out? Was it, no, I'm going to keep going? And just seeing those virtual fans out there just absolutely going wild, cheering you on, saying, get back in the car, get back out there, and let's see the car to the end. Was that a push for you?
No. Taylor Motorsports never quit. We keep
Love
going.
That. Love
Keep
that.
driving.
I'll absolutely adore that.
I drove in the FRL World Championship, Endurance Championship last season, and came third. Even though there was only about maybe 6 cars, that was a big team effort to even get to the end of that championship. That's 55 hours. So whenever there's a 3-hour whenever there's a nice small little endurance race, I can do on my own, or with a teammate, I'll jump at the chance. And when I disconnected, I thought, God, I'm really up for this. But you know what? I went onto the stream. People said, you know what, just reconnect, keep going. So I thought, you know what, stop it. I'm just going to keep going.
Oh, absolutely.
Love that.
Yeah. Make the best of a bad situation.
Well, I said at the start of the stream, me and Stephen were talking about like endurance racing and sim racing in general. And one point that I think me and Stephen both made was like the mental side of it, like the right mentality and getting back in the seat after the disconnect and knowing you were going to be in a few laps down and just going, you know what, I'm just going to jump in the seat and have fun. Like that's the right mentality to have, and I do nothing but applaud that, to be brutally honest. And well done for getting to the end and seeing the checkered flag, mate.
It's probably just as hard as doing a 24-hour race where you're absolutely shattered. You want more sleep, but you just got to keep going, keep going. you know.
Absolutely
Mm.
great stuff. Well,
Yeah.
Mickey Taylor of Taylor Motorsport, getting to see the end. You gain those positions, you gain the respect, and we're looking forward to seeing you back out on the track with us, joining us for the 4 hours of COTA coming up next month, but also looking forward to seeing possibly you racing in the Sunday Championships as well. Be nice to go and see the Mustang going and fighting it out with the rest of the drivers in a little bit of the sprint races, an hour, just over an hour.
That
Yeah.
was not last season. Season previous to that, I did the Sundays. I thoroughly enjoyed the silver. It's the first league I've actually joined where you're actually racing competitively and on an even playing field, and I felt like I was in the race. It was the first championships I joined with Evolution Racing, where I can actually race from the front, you know, in the top 10 or the top 6, and it's quite a rarity to get that. So I thoroughly enjoyed that season that I had with you guys, just up till Christmas last year, and wanted to thank you for, you know, let me be part of that race.
No, anytime, mate. And you're more than welcome. And with a mentality and outlook on racing like that, you're definitely welcome to any race that we hold as well. So no, well done, and thank you for coming to speak to us as well.
Thank you. Yeah, it's quite hard. Been a father now, so 7 months old. So yeah, I'm racing less, but I'll try and sneak a race in. So thank you.
Good man, top stuff. Thank you for your time.
Mickey Taylor going and giving us those resounding thoughts. I mean, what a race, what a time, Chris. But this is the end of round 1. Can you believe it? It's half a year's worth of planning to just get this race done, and it's done. I mean, it's been incredible, but it's done.
Yeah, we've got it out of the way. I mean, it was what a race to start with as well. I mean, I was a little bit skeptical about Barcelona because I don't think it's the best track for racing half the time, but it delivered. We got a good race out of this one, and lots of drama, lots of stories, and lots of people that I've just been scrolling through some of the chats, and everyone congratulating each other and talking about little stories that happened during the race and all that sort of stuff. That's what I like to see as well. Like the community, it brings the community together, and I just can't wait for COTA. I just can't wait to see the Americas and what happens over there.
Absolutely incredible stuff. And got to say a huge thank you to all those in the background, the admin, going and putting everything together, our live stewards that were doing the incredible work here at ERA. Absolutely tremendous to have the guys around and just being a part of the incredible times here. And we welcome all to come and join us in the training sessions. We welcome you on the Sunday Championships, the off-season with the Super GTs going out and having a bit of fun out there. But also having you guys join us here in the Endurance Championship. Massive thank you to everyone. A big thank you to the main commentator of ERA over here, and Chris Wall, who is top-notch driver, deciding to take the helmet, put it off to one side, and join me for 3 hours of chin-wagging. And absolutely incredible. Chris, thank you so much for having me, and thank you for putting on a great show.
I've thoroughly enjoyed my time with you, Stephen, and you've spent a lot of time thanking other people, but the real props go to yourself for giving the race the voice it deserves and the coverage it deserves and the production and everything else. You really do put a lot of time and effort into these things, and myself, on behalf of staff at ERA, we thank you for all that, and the stream was absolute quality, and yeah, mate, it's an absolute pleasure to have you with us, basically.
Oh, part of the family, part of the furniture, part of the fun. But ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it does bring us to the end of this amazing show. And Chris, anything you would like to say in closing from your side?
No, just mark the 19th of April on your diaries for the next one of these endurance races. But of course, we'll have announcements in due course for our next season. And you can already get your license and sign-ups and everything sorted for that. And the calendar's already out and everything else. So we already know what's coming. get your license, get on track, come and join the action, come and join the fun, and we'll see you in the Discord and on the track.
Absolutely great stuff. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, subscribe if you want to see all the action, and well, even if you don't, just subscribe because there's always action
free.
here.
Why not?
It's free.
Yeah.
That's it. Why not? Leave us a like as well. It always goes and shows the support and helps beat out this algorithm that goes a bit wild, but also let us know down in the comments, what was your favorite part of the 3 hour of Barcelona? Was it the side-by-side moments? Was it the dramatic finish of two drivers coming to blows with one another to hand another driver third place? Was it nearly the steal of the century right in the last corner? Let us know down in the comments. We look forward to seeing you out in the virtual grandstands here at ERA. All information, if you want to join us, is in the description as well. And ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, from all the way out in the UK, from Chris Wall and myself in South Africa, we'd like to say a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, everybody.